855.
Roosters is the place to watch your favorite teams play. From college to the pros, Roosters has all the games. Plus, you're going to love the food at Roosters. Come watch the games and enjoy 79-cent boneless wings every Monday. Roosters with 6 Kentuckiana locations: Dixie Highway, Preston Highway, Fern Creek, Shelbyville Road, Springhurst, and in Clarksville.
The Mike Rutherford Show.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Won't be trice, real name, no gimmicks.
Who are you?
He had a voice that could make a wolverine purr.
That's what I'm talking about, man.
Wait a minute, I know you.
You got the name tag. You're in my world now, Grandma.
I know that, dude.
He's a modern-day Yoda.
I'm your huckleberry.
Allow myself to introduce myself.
Greetings and salutations.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
You're excited. Feel these nipples.
That boy is good. Mm-hmm. Good and terrible.
Well, I have a microphone and you don't.
So you will listen to every damn word I have to say!
This is the Mike Rutherford Show on the Big X.
The Sportos, Motorheads, Geek Bloods, Wastoids, Dweebies, they all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
The Mike Rutherford Show, presented by United Mechanical, your trusted partner for commercial and industrial HVAC, electrical, plumbing, and refrigeration. Call United Mechanical at 502-339-1133.
Well, I'll stand up next to a mountain, and I'll chop it down to the edge of my head.
All right. Welcome, everybody. It is Monday, March 30th. This is the Mike Rutherford Show, presented by United Mechanical and Nexus Plus. We're coming to you live from the world-famous University of Louisville College of Business Studios. Here in the heart of Spring Ready, Louisville, Kentucky. Cards fans, take your career to new heights with an MBA from the University of Louisville. The full-time MBA is an innovative 12-month program that accelerates your career trajectory with convenient in-person evening classes. Competitive 11-month paid internship opportunities provide you with valuable industry experience. It's the MBA that pays. Get started today, and you could earn your degree in just 1 year. The first step is hopping online and visiting business.louisville.edu. We're on the air today from 2:32 until 5:30 here on 1450 AM, 96.1 FM, streaming across the land, including on the Big X Sports Radio Louisville YouTube page, airing live on WBNA Channel 21. You know what's better is the Big X. Mike Rutherford, Roman Kelly back here with you on a Monday edition of the show. We missed Roman the last couple of days last week. We'll get caught up on his exploits this weekend, including his performance at the Louisville Kings opener on Friday night. We've got some football news to talk about, some good football news to talk about. Final Four reactions on the men's side, the end of the U of L women's basketball season, a couple of developments on the roster building for the men's basketball season coming up. All sorts of nuggets across a wide array of topics today, a wide array of sports. Baseball team's stinking it up right now. We're going to talk about that a little bit, too. We'll hear from you guys on the Gameday Mens Health text line. The number there, 502-414-1450 per usual. Before we do anything, though, we say hi to our guy, Roman Kelly. Give him a follow on Twitter if you haven't already, at Romy Bean. Roman, how are you, buddy? I missed you.
I know. Missed a lot of time last week with Lakers game, Kings game stuff, rehearsal and game day stuff. So I didn't get to talk as much as I wanted to on this show, but we're back. The regularly scheduled programming is on. I feel like I'm back to normalcy headed forward here in the next few days, which is good. But the weekend was great. I obviously have a great Friday night, eventful Friday night. Get over a big milestone type of situation there with that Kings game, which I'm sure we'll get into in here in just a second. Went to the Bachfest Saturday for a little bit.
How was that?
It was fun. Was hung out with some friends there. The weather was nice Saturday. Did some crawling on Sunday.
Of course you did.
And over the weekend, I didn't prioritize watching any game from start to finish. Obviously, I can't not pay attention to some of these kinds of matchups, and obviously you throw a couple of bets in as well. So you're just peeping the scores, and if you're hearing of something exciting or if the score looks like it's close, then you're cutting on the game on your phone for a bit just to tune in for a little bit to see how it's going down. I didn't worry about watching any game though, and that felt good to just kind of have a a weekend free of trying to break down basketball.
Little relax.
Yes. Yeah. No, you probably didn't get that.
Can't say the same, but it's okay. I am feeling like the pressure being off a little bit. I had a couple of posts I had to get done this morning, a couple of stuff I had to look at this morning. But it was nice, like last night, after getting the second Final Four or Elite Eight game wrapped up relatively early. It's like an 8 o'clock game. Now, granted, there was more work than I thought I was going to have to do because of the way the game ended. But still, being able to get stuff done by like 10 o'clock, watching a show with my wife, hanging out a little bit, that was nice. And also knowing that I wasn't going to have to get up at like 4 a.m. and finish them. It was good. I got a normal night's sleep, got back to a normal routine. It'll be relatively normal this week until we get to like Friday night and get ready for the Final Four game. So it's the worst is, I don't even want to say the worst because I do love doing this, but the most hectic 3 weeks of the year are behind us. We got more hectic stuff to talk about when it comes to Louisville. The moving and shaking for the upcoming season has already started. We obviously talked a little bit about that last week. There's been some more news over the weekend. I'll tell you what I know, like I always do, or at least what I can tell you, and we'll go from there. But I do want to start by talking about, I didn't get a chance because of the Sweet 16 work and because of the one of the other jobs that I got going on. I didn't get a chance to watch hardly any of the Kings game on Friday night, but I did talk to people that were there. Multiple people reached out, and Matt and I were talking about this on Thursday, and then I was talking about it a little bit with Trey on Friday. Just like this, it's a big moment for you.
Yes.
14,000 people there. I would be nervous for sure. I can only imagine how you were feeling, going over your notes, getting ready for all that stuff. And I was like, oh God, kind of had like the dad instincts kick in, where I was like, what if just something terrible happens to Roman? Like what if the Kings are getting blown out and the fans are already upset, and then Roman says something that people don't like and he gets booed? I was like, how is this going to work? I was a little bit nervous as we got closer. Multiple people reached out. Every single person said the same thing. They're like, dude, you should be proud of her. Like, Roman was great. Roman crushed it. Tell me about the experience.
I appreciate those people that were reaching out to you, and then everyone that reached out to me as well. I was curious as to what people thought, especially like the people that had no idea it was going to be me, and maybe you did know me or didn't, what those kinds of people thought as well, because I'd never done anything like this. I'd done the summer camp hosting MC thing, and then I PA announced some soccer in high school, some high school soccer and basketball, but this is a different level of people seeing you. Obviously, listening to the Mike Rutherford show, there's thousands at times listening on the replays at times as well. So that can be obviously a little bit nerve-wracking if you try to think about it too much, which I do a good job of not. You don't have the choice to not think about it in this kind of a setting, right? When they can actively see me, yell, they can everything I'm doing before and after each of these things, everyone's there. So the first 30, 45 minutes, like the first 30 minutes, I should say that 30 minutes leading into my first hit, which was well into when gates opened, I was extremely nervous.
Oh, yeah, I can only imagine.
I'm like, all I'm doing was introducing the Oldham County High School marching band, but Thursday was the rehearsal, late Thursday night, and then early Friday morning, I realized I was saying the name of the director for the band wrong during the rehearsal. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got to
That's why you rehearsed, though.
Yes, I'm sitting here all day saying the guy's name over and over in my head the correct way. Dan Clipper.
Well, how were you saying it?
I was saying Kipler on Thursday during the rehearsal out loud, like for everyone to hear. And only a handful of people saw the correct name or paid attention to the correct name, but still. And then at the very end, someone's like, hey, you were saying Clipper or Kipler. Make sure you're saying Clipper tomorrow. I'm like, oh gosh, let me not already. That's the first one. That's the one that I've already read the most at this point. It comes time from the hit, 7:32. They're telling me you're on in 5 seconds, which is, it's like crazy how official the production is for things like this. I can't imagine.
4, 3.
Yeah, literally. The cameraman counting me down. Go all the way through it. Directed by Dan Clipper. For my very first time on the microphone. So there's not even, very, very, very many people there yet. I think that was the only time that I directly would say that I messed up. I had a couple of moments where I paused maybe a little more than I should, and maybe should have paused in between some words and phrases. But for the most part, I think I improved throughout the night, which is always the priority, right? And extremely exciting, extremely nerve-wracking. I'll go ahead and admit that the leftover B-dubs at noon that day was probably not smart.
No.
8, still nervous around 8 p.m., thinking that I'm about to have to teach this crowd chant at the 50-yard line with just me and Derby the mascot standing next to me, and I'm about to teach this crowd a chant. I had no idea this was happening at half field until game day. And, of course, a few things take too long in that same process. The anthem, a couple of things are delayed, and that gets punched off, and I don't get the chance to do it. So those feelings of feeling like that Betos was about to come out unintended, that went away. But, yeah, the desert heat dry rub, whatever that is, I need to stay away from that.
I was going to say, whenever I do stuff that makes me nervous, that's when, there's no issue with the bowels. I'm tightened up. I won't pee for 12 hours if I've got to do something that is nerve-wracking. So I think at that point, your mind kind of takes over and helps you out a little bit there.
It's cool to see some friends in there. And then
Keith sent me a text that I guess saw your mom, and the first time you were up on the
He fully heckled me.
Oh, did he really?
He full-on heckled me.
He did text me and say that he booed you when you came out, but he said your mom went nuts when she saw you on the screen for the first time.
Yeah, they were going crazy. Stepmom, mom, dad, all kind of enjoying it. I'm walking up into the crowd to go do my first hit that's in the stands, and it's over by producer Keith's section. Camera's I'm on in a minute or two. Producer Keith gets over to the edge because I'm on the edge, basically. I'm standing on the steps of one of these bleachers. You walk up, if you go to your seat, you have to pass where I'm standing. Producer Keith's on the opposite side, so there's a tunnel in between us, but he's basically in the same area on the other side. He's like, Roman, you suck when you're nervous. Everybody could hear it. That made me laugh and smile, and the cameraman as well. So it was a great experience. It was fun. Once the nerves went away, I think I could finally show the energy.
Now, another person that was there told me that you went by Roman, just Roman.
Yeah.
No Roman Kelly, no R Kelly, no Big R Daddy. No famous MC name.
Romy Bean just felt a little bit too much, and I don't have anything else.
So you just Roman.
Yeah.
I mean, it works, too, because the whole Kings and Roman and, you're Roman King. I like it. I think it plays well. But I did hear you did very well. No one even told me about the hiccup at the beginning, probably because I guess people, like you said,
7:30
weren't really there quite yet. But, man, I mean, could not have been more proud of Louisville for showing up. I saw some of the attendance numbers from over the weekend, the opening weekend at UFL, and St. Louis had 31,000 people at their game. But obviously, we don't have in a stadium that big. But 14K dwarfed most of the other games. The other big new franchise, I guess, had 1,000 people there, 1,200 people there. It was an awesome showing. The game sounded like it was exciting and was exciting from what I saw, at least as far as being competitive.
Yep, back and forth.
Unfortunately, didn't get the job done, lost by 2. But set the stage for, I think, more people to come back and have a good time. And I'm very, very excited about that. I am curious to see if we can keep this up. There's a little bit of a history when it comes to new, fresh things in Louisville where they come out of the gate charging hard and then slows down pretty immediately.
Don't speak that into the air.
I just say that hasn't been the case with Lou City. Thankfully, we've done a great job at continuing to support the boys in purple over the last 8 years, 9 years. It's been a good run there. I'm hoping the same will be the case for the Kings, but that'll be the big test. Is you got 14,000 for the first game. How many of those people who were just kind of I want to see what this is all about have gotten hooked to the point where they're saying I'm going to go for the rest of the season, or at least I'm going to go to the next game. We'll find out. I'm very excited to see that. And, obviously, we'd love to start winning some games and make that.
Yeah, it'd be cool for Coach Redmond.
Yeah,
continue to get more Louisville, Kentucky players if you do that.
So. Easier pitch to the fan base out there to keep coming back if you're actually winning games and going out there. I mean, we had a dust up between the fans and the Stallions when they were coming out for halftime.
Mm-hmm.
That video went a little bit viral.
Boos were pretty loud for the Stallions.
I mean, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world that you had a little bit of controversy at the first game. When it comes to a secondary league like the UFL, I think almost no good news is, or almost no news is bad news. I think there's a limit, obviously. Yeah. But when something like this, I think it's a good thing.
Realized there was a lot of things that would have been an immediate flag in the NFL that maybe don't get flagged in the UFL.
That's fine. A little bit of a XFL edge to you. I think that's just fine. So, it sounded like it was an overall, outside of not winning the game, a very positive start for the Louisville Kings, a very positive start for your boy. And our guy Dalton Pence on national TV you see that?
Yes.
He had they threw it to him. The Fox broadcast did as he introduced Russell Dickerson doing the halftime show.
That's
so
awesome.
That was a cool moment for Dalton. Glad that he got that. Big X taking over.
He kind of incorporated the Kings first down as the Cards first down, or
I
the
like
Cards
that.
first down as the Kings first down chant. Did you hear that or hear about that?
Did not, but I enjoy that.
From what I remember, he only said it once or twice, and then from there he just said, "And that's good for another," and the crowd did the rest.
Kings. I love it. Very, very cool. Props to everybody involved with the Kings for a solid opening weekend. Hopefully, we'll keep this momentum. We'll keep this momentum going. Let's start today when it comes to Louisville stuff. I mean, I've got to start here because it's a personal deal to me. It's big for the show. It's been something that I put my stamp on, and that's been, we took charge of the recruitment of Jihad Brown around here, and I've been talking about this kid for literally 12 years. He and his dad sat in front of me at Louisville games for, I think, 2 or 3 years. His dad,
What age were you when that happened again?
Like 52? No, I was, I guess, late 20s, early 30s. This is when we had season tickets at U of L games. And his dad, Julian, we have some mutual friends. He was a standout basketball and football player at Seneca back in the day, played at Kentucky State. I think he played both sports there. And, he was kind of, he did the thing. He's not the only person that's done this with me over the years where it's like, hey, you should talk about my son. Like, he's a great player. And, 95% of the time it's some kid who's like, little Johnny's like slightly better than most of the other 7-year-olds out there. And, he can make a layup on a 10-foot basketball goal, and you're like, cool. And, he's telling me about his kid who's sitting there. And his kid is very young, probably 6, 7, 8. And he starts, like, showing me some highlights. And very quickly, I'm like, all right, well, this is a little bit different. Like this kid is out there doing things that kids that age should not be doing at all. Like he's sending me videos of him running a track meet for the first time, and he's finishing like 17 seconds ahead of everybody else in the field. All this stuff going on, and later in the season, Julian and Jihad, they're like, we've got our championship game, and we get to play here at Cardinal Stadium, and I make him this deal. I'm like, hey, you guys win and you score a touchdown, I'll put you on. This was when I was doing the Ramsey and Rutherford show, the first iteration over at 93.9. I'm like, I'll put you on the radio. We'll do this, and I'll put you on the website. And they come back the next week, and they're like, well, he scored 6 touchdowns. And we won like 49-3. I was like, all right, like done. So put him on the radio show, talked about him, and I think I got him to say, if it comes down to it in 10 years, we're going to need you to go ahead and be a Cardinal. Like we got the inside track on the recruitment here. Put him on the website, and they were both very, very gracious and very thankful. And they talked about what a good student he is and all this stuff. And his dad kept in touch with him over the years, and they formed this local team, the Louisville Chargers, that would go on to win national championships. They went
friends who played for the Louisville Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, they went to Florida. They beat the best teams in the country at like the 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old level. They went to California, beat some teams there. And the whole time, Jihad is just, looking like he's moving at a different speed than all these kids. But, you're kind of wondering, he's small. I'm like, is he going to be big enough to become a legit D1 athlete? And then once he gets to like 6th, 7th, 8th grade, you realize it's not going to matter. I think Louisville offered him a scholarship in 8th grade. Kentucky offered him a scholarship in 8th grade. He ends up going to Christian Academy. He's helped them win 3 straight state championships. He led the state in receptions last year, put up video game numbers, like 98 catches, 24 touchdowns, billion receiving yards, a lot of touchdowns from special teams as well. And you realize just how serious this gets when, Alabama's going all in to get this kid. Every SEC power is asking him to come on recruiting visits and offering him scholarships and all this stuff. He ends up committing to Indiana in January on national TV at one of the All-American games. And it breaks my heart a little bit. But I told everybody listening, I said it ain't over. I'm going to get with the big dog. We're going to figure this thing out. I'm personally responsible for Jihad Brown's recruitment. We're not done yet. We're not done. What do you know? A couple weeks later, spotted in public with the big dog. He's going to some spring practices at Louisville. He's hanging out with Louisville folks. I hear through the grapevine that Kentucky has put on a really aggressive pursuit of him. And when he decommits from Indiana, which happened, 3 weeks ago? I think it was March 12th was the date. The big word that I get is like, hey, Louisville hasn't even offered the kid an NIL package. it's going to be Kentucky. Like, they are offering him the moon. So we're kind of behind the 8 ball when it comes to recruiting Jihad. And I'll give Vince Marrow a ton of credit. He was the one, I think, on the staff that recognized just how good this kid is and just how prioritized he needs to be for us moving forward. If we want to keep the best talent home and we want to have explosive players in this offense that we can develop over the course of 2, 3, 4 seasons. And he helped us out. Did what he needed to do behind the scenes. We still didn't know. My understanding is the U of L staff did not know this morning where Jihad was going to commit. That he did a very good job at keeping this a secret from both UK and U of L staff members. I had no idea. I just knew that he was committing today. When he says Louisville, big-time victory. I could not be happier that we've got a hometown kid that has been that I've known literally since he was like 6 years old on the U of L staff. I'm taking a victory lap on this one. The Rutherford show brought Jihad Brown home.
We got the job done.
We got the job done at the end of the day. Big-time deal. Now we need to take things full circle. We got to get him on the show this week, which, speaking of, we'll have Jeff Brom on the show tomorrow. How about that?
Wow.
3 o'clock, Jeff Brom on the Rutherford show tomorrow. We'll talk about spring practice, how that's going. I think there's a variety of other things going on that maybe he'd like to get into. We'll do that. But maybe we can get Jihad on a little bit later this week, and we'll do our first interview was like 12 years ago. We'll bring him back in now that he's officially a Cardinal. Pretty cool thing though to watch a kid grow up, and everybody, the dream of anybody who grows up rooting for U of L. After a certain age, is to have a kid that goes on and suits up for the Cardinals. His dad gets to experience that now. And, beyond just all the personal stuff, the kid's really bleeping good. Like, this is a 4-star prospect who I think is probably even better than his ratings would indicate. Watch the highlight film. Kid moves differently. And we've very rarely had players that have that level of explosiveness. And you can find ways to utilize that talent. I think that's a special teams threat. It's obviously a quick strike threat. You can use him on jet sweeps. You can use him on quick screens. He is a very, very talented player who I think has a chance to be a big-time producer for us in this offense starting next season moving forward. Good news for football, Roman.
Great news for football. Got to get the local kids in, especially when they're this talented.
Speaking of, we may not be done when it comes to keeping local talent home. Because it sounds like we've already done a good job in this 2026 class. We've got 2 of the other best local players here apparently are going to be at practice this afternoon via Jody Demling. Malachi Brown, who's from Corbin High School, class of 2027, 6'3", 275. I think he projects to be a defensive tackle at the next level, although he plays tight end here. And then Elijah Burns-Crump, another player from Trinity, who is a free safety defensive back, 4-star prospect from the class of 2027. That would be another big one to keep home. We're doing a good job when it comes to keeping the best local talent, and I say local now meaning the rest of the state of Kentucky and not just the city of Louisville in town. You look at the class of 2027, which is projecting, once again, to be one of the better classes we've seen. You've got the number 2 player in the class, in Alan Evans from Trinity, who is a top 100 overall player in the class. He's already committed. The number 4 player in the class from the state of Kentucky, Jordan Haskins from Bryan Station. The safety, his dad, JT, played here back in the day. He's committed. Malachi Brown is number 5 on that list. We got him at practice today. And now Jihad Brown, who's another top 10 player from this class, is locked in. The only guys that you're not getting that have committed somewhere else, LaRon Westmoreland, who's number 8 in the class from J-Town, he's committed to Kentucky, and the number 1 player in the class, the kid from Boyle County, Seneca Driver, who's very good, is going to Oklahoma. But besides that, Sebastian Blue just won MVP honors at a camp over the weekend. Another kid from Trinity on the defensive line, that great 27 class that's been starting for them for the last 3 years. He's committed to Louisville. We need to get – so I'm doing well with the Trinity kids, Roman. Xavion Meads from Atherton is a 3-star prospect, top 20 player in the state. We got to get you working on that.
And there's one more, right?
Well, the Hobbs kid transferred to Christian Academy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was at Atherton, and he's also committed to Indiana. So I'd hold you accountable if he hadn't left out.
We'll get Rio on this.
Rio needs to step up when it comes to Xavion Meads.
I guess, he didn't come close enough friends to prevent Hobbs from transferring. But
I didn't want to say it, but
reposting him on his story and whatnot. I'm gonna tell him he's gonna need to cut that out.
yeah, you're not that close. If you could not convince him to come, we're gonna need Rio to step it up a little bit. I know he's focused on winning a soccer state championship and stomping you at Dawes, but he's got to pick up the recruiting efforts. He's got to make some plays there. Are you excited for this, Dawes? Now that it's getting closer,
I am.
I would love for you to put the kids through spring practice. Just be like, we got some changes coming here.
I want to. I got to finish I don't think I can just quite yet, but I'd like to do that before the school's year ends.
Do you
show them what it's going to be.
Do you have a workout program in place?
Oh yeah,
like off-season lift.
2-a-days every day if we're allowed.
I can't wait. It's gonna be great.
I just worry that it's like gonna be this. We're the new coaches in here. We're changing the program, and then like we win 6 games.
Well, I mean, always possible. You gotta lay This is about laying a foundation, Roman. It's about setting the stage for greater things to come.
I'm excited.
What if you go out there and you win 1 game?
That'd be even worse.
It'd be pretty bad.
Probably wouldn't come back, get invited back the next year.
Vince Barrow, by the way, has been tweeting a lot of stuff. You could tell that he wasn't 100% sure that he'd gotten this done, and now he's thumping the chat. This morning he was like, wherever he goes, that kid's a 4-star. Don't fool yourself. And then today, he's just like, lies being told everywhere. Lots of lies. And he's like, I love the guys I work. Like, Vince Barrow's on one right now. I love it. Little victory lap from both us and Vince Barrow and the big dog today. It's been great. We'll talk some hoops after the break. Crazy day yesterday in the Elite Eight. We'll talk Louisville as well, the latest on transfer portal scuttle, as well as guys who are potentially staying, who are leaving. We'll get to all that good stuff after the break. It's the Mike Rutherford Show, presented by United Mechanical and Nexus Plus, 1450 96.1 Big X Sports Radio. to Never, Never Land. Welcome back in. It's the Mike Rutherford Show. 1450, 96.1 Big X Sports Radio. Every time I hear that song, I have this specific memory. It's not even a memory of mine. It's a story. My brother, older brother Oliver, went to Miami of Ohio. And his freshman year, there were two kids on his floor in his dorm that played on the football team. And he's like, every Saturday morning, you would hear them at like 7 a.m. playing this song, and then like banging stuff and throwing stuff. And he's like, all right, man, like, you know, this, I guess it's just their method. He's like, I didn't find out until 2 months into school that these were like freshman walk-ons that never ever played. I don't think they even got to dress for road games, but like that's how they behave. I think of those kids who I never met, have no idea what they look like. Every time I hear that song, it's all I can think of. Get hyped, young men, to put on that jersey and go cheer on the sidelines. There's nothing wrong with that. Go for it. It is the Monday edition of the Rutherford Show. Roman Kelly back in the house today after a couple days off last week, getting ready for his Louisville Kings emceeing deal. We had lots going on last week while you were away. Obviously, we were reacting to the end of the men's basketball season, a lot of the men's basketball rumors that are out there when it comes to guys staying, guys leaving, who we're targeting in the portal, all of that good stuff. Also, some just crazy college basketball news to begin with. We were getting ready for the women's game on Saturday against Michigan. Unfortunately, that did not go great. Started off great. They get out. It kind of felt like a lot of games they've played against quality competition this season where they get off to a great start. I think they were up 13-4. And then when the shots stop falling and the other team gets a little bit of momentum, we just have had no answer for that all year.
Like us versus Duke.
Pretty much.
Men's team versus Duke.
Once it got going, once they started getting something going, we just, we tried. But I think it was a 23-0 run for Michigan that let them establish control in the third quarter in a game that was very, very competitive for the first 25 minutes or so, turned into a little bit of a laugher, and Louisville goes out in lopsided fashion against Michigan to end the season. There is good news, though, that came out of the weekend on the women's basketball side of things. So we heavily invested in this class of current sophomores that coming out of high school were very, very good. Couple McDonald's All-Americans there. And Walls, he has been kind of building towards, I think, these next 2 years, where he wanted the core group of 4 or 5 players from that class to be the core group for 4 years. And then we would go out there and we would add a couple of really good players from the portal every single season. And he's kind of been hoping that that's going to be the secret recipe for deep runs in the tournament in 2027 and 2028. We, took some lumps last year. Got better as the season went on, got back to the NCAA tournament, won a game. This year took a gigantic step forward, ranked in the top 10 for a solid chunk of the year, played a very competitive schedule, were very good in the ACC, earned a 3 seed for the big dance, got back to the second weekend for the first time in 4 years. We found out after the game that, the core group of players, we brought in Laura Ziegler for this year, who was fantastic. Unfortunately, she's out of eligibility, but he said McKinley Randolph, Taj Roberts, Amari Berry, Alif Istanbulagu, and Grace Mbugua, they've all re-signed for next season. That's huge. That's awesome. He did say, we are going to, there are other players who maybe still have stay or go situations that we've got to work out. Whether we keep everybody else or lose everybody else, he said, we're gonna try to bring in 2 to 4 portal players again. And when you've already inked the core group from a very successful team, I think that makes you a more attractive option for some of the best players that are going to be out there in the portal. And I think we've got the money to sign 2 very big-time names and then hopefully a couple of other players that'll be nice role players. But this is what I think the game plan was for Jeff. He tried to do the plug-and-play, one-and-done type deal from the portal for a couple of seasons. It didn't work. He always, I think when he signed that class a couple of years ago, planned on bringing them up, kind of throwing them into the fire early on, taking some lumps as freshmen, and then having a slow build towards being very good 2 or 3 years later. And I think that's the game plan. Like, this is a team that should be preseason top 10 next season, should have legitimate aspirations of getting back to the second weekend and probably playing deeper than they did this year. And then I think the hope is compete for a national title next year, compete for a national title in 2028. And, it takes a lot to get on the level of the UConns, the South Carolinas, the the LSUs of the world right now, but I think this is Jeff Walls' plan to make that happen, and hopefully we can go out there and get it done. So good things happening on the women's basketball side of things despite a disappointing ending on Saturday. The future is very, very bright. The future, murkier for the men's basketball team, not because I think we're going to have a terrible roster or anything like that. We just don't know who the hell is going to be on the team as of right now. Thankfully, there are plenty of options out there, and Louisville's got plenty of money to lure them in. Here's the latest on what I've heard when it comes to, first we'll talk about the stay or go decisions, because I don't think anything has been 100% set in stone. Things can change on a dime at this point in the offseason. We saw that last year with Case and Pryor, who I think was all but gone, and then at the last second was re-signed. What I said about Sananda Frew last week, I think is still held true. He wants to be here. He doesn't really care about his own finances. He just basically doesn't want to go through the whole process of relocating and getting reacclimated to a new system. He's been fine with a potential backup role. I think he's okay with taking a gigantic pay cut. The problem, I think, is more his agent is not okay with Sananda taking a giant pay cut. From what I've heard, like, he is pushing very hard for Frew to move on because he knows there are big-time programs out there that are willing to shell out big-time bucks for a player who fits the mold that Sananda Frew does. I think Louisville didn't get out of him clearly what they wanted to this season. I think they're okay with him sticking around, but he would have to do so for very little money, relatively speaking. I think that sits okay with Sananda. Apparently his agent, as you might guess, doesn't sit quite as well for him. The guy wants a payday.
Smart of his agent?
Yeah. I mean, if he wants a payday, like, that's, you want to push for the right thing. You would think that maybe just putting your client's best interests for, like, mentally would come into play, but the dollar speaks pretty loudly, and I think the dollar is maybe pushing Sananda in a different direction right now. We talked about this last week. Adrian Woolley, I've heard nothing new on that front. I think it's still more likely than not that he is gone. He's been entertaining some pretty high-profile offers. I think that those all, if he wanted to come back, it would have to be for less money than he's getting offered somewhere else. Not because we're being cheap, but because I think we believe we have an idea of what his value is. We'd love to have him back, but we're not going to overpay when we feel like we've got to spend very large for a couple of stars that are out there for this season. So I think it's more than likely that Woolley's going to move on. The big surprising development for me over the weekend, and like I'm saying, that all this stuff is fluid. I just kind of assumed that Zoo was the one guy that you could count on to be back because I felt like Zoo didn't really care about his role. He loves it here. He loves working hard. He's like just fine with settling into a role of being like an eighth man next year, playing 8 to 10 minutes. Apparently that's not the case. Apparently Zoo has big ideas about how much money he should be making and how much he should be playing next season, and it's kind of surprised some folks over there at U of L. We'll see how this goes, but or whether this is maybe his agent just trying to highball Louisville and but like what they're wanting is outrageous from what I've heard. So we'll see what happens on the Vangelis Zugris front, but I'm less convinced now that he's coming back just because of, they want some guarantees and they want a ton of money, which we love the way he played down the stretch this season. He was huge for us in the last few weeks. He stepped into a starting role, obviously. I don't think that immediately makes him a $2 million player or anywhere in that general vicinity, but they're going to have to work that out behind closed doors. No idea what's going on with Kenai. There have been some talk that he's definitely gone. There's some talk that he's definitely coming back. I've not heard anything substantive from anybody that would know one way or the other. I think that's still kind of a up in the air type deal. And I think Kaysen's not coming back. The only thing that I continue to hear nothing about is what's going to happen with the two guys that were sitting out last season, London Johnson and Mo Kamara. I'm not sure where their heads are. I'm not sure where Louisville's head is in relation to bringing them back or getting them a new deal or what the whole situation is there. I don't know. So there's that. Now, Roman, you missed all the Quinn Ellis talk last week for the most part.
I did.
So I'm sure I have not glanced at the text line yet. I've not glanced at the YouTube chat yet. I'm sure we have questions about Quinn Ellis because I said on Friday's show, the sooner the better when it comes to a commitment announcement for Louisville. The longer this drags on, the more likely it is that Duke or Kentucky or somebody else are sweeping in. Here's my understanding of that situation. This kid's obviously playing in Italy. He's been playing in Italy. So the preliminary conversations directly between Ellis and his agent at U of L were all done via Zoom, via classic phone calls, whatever. They felt like they had a deal done. They felt like this thing is locked up. They felt like we're good to go. We made an offer. You agreed to it. Boom. Hence the Pat Kelsey winky emoji tweet from, what was that, Wednesday last week?
Yep.
Whenever that was. Deal done. Verbal agreement. Kelsey flies over to Europe to go meet with him in Italy. When they sit down and have a face-to-face conversation, the asks change from their side. They are now asking for a monumental amount of money. We're talking like $5 million in that range, something that was way more than the original deal was agreed upon. They're kind of saying, I think Louisville basically was like, well, we're not going to pay that. And they were like, well, Duke will. And I think it's now become a game of trying to call somebody's bluff. I don't know where we stand. I'd heard as of this weekend that Louisville was kind of close to walking away just because, they basically backed out of a deal and then asked for substantially more than what was agreed upon. And I think that while they think the kid is very good and they think that he could help them next season, I think that there's some – I mean, is he like are you going to pay that guy A.J. DeBonsa money? A guy who, again, don't get me wrong, I think he'll be a very effective player in college basketball wherever he ends up. But he's, putting up 8 points and 4.5 assists in the Italian league. That's not exactly DeBonsa, Cam Boozer, Darren Peterson type money. That's where it's been left. I think that they thought that they had gotten him for kind of a bargain because he really just loved the system, loved Louisville, and they're like, cool, great. And now he's kind of using the, hey, Duke really wants me, Kentucky really wants me, all these schools really want me card. Give me $5 million. And Louisville, I think, it still could happen. They're going to have to come back down to earth a little bit, but it's no longer the lock that it seemed like it was on Wednesday and Thursday. And as you might guess, Pat Kelsey, I don't think, was overly thrilled about flying over the ocean to go see a kid and then having the deal that was talked about not be the one that was originally discussed. So a little bit up in the air there. I think we are in fairly good position with Jackson Shelstead from Oregon. I feel like I've got to repeat this every time we talk about a player that's being targeted. Everything's fluid. Yep. Where things can change on a dime, but I believe there's been preliminary conversations there. I think he's interested in coming to play for Louisville. That's a kid who scored a solid amount for Oregon this past season. He's averaged double figures every year of his college career, which all three freshman starter at Oregon 3 years ago. Shoots the ball well from the outside, can facilitate an offense well, solid playmaker off the bounce. I think that there's definitely some interest there. I think there's.
You really think Duke and UK are offering $5 million to this kid?
I don't. I think they want Louisville to believe that so they can bleed Louisville dry. But if he does end up at Duke, I think it's going to be because they offered the same thing that we originally offered, and he just wanted to play at Duke. But he would choose Louisville if they're going to offer him $2 million more. Then it sounds like they're just trying to leverage the fact that Duke is so interested to try to get Louisville to overpay. And maybe he comes here and just sets the world on fire next season, and we all say, well, we should have paid that. But $5 million is an incredible investment in a 23-year-old player who, may or may not be great at this level. Like you just don't know. We thought Snanafru's skills were going to translate to this level, and they didn't. So it's still, when it's that much of a guess, I don't think you can invest would you pay $5 million for Quinn Ellis? No. That's outrageous money. Like I said, that's more than DeBonsa got at BYU. More than Darren Peterson got at Kansas. More than Cam Boozer got at Duke.
I think that can get you two really good guards in the portal.
Hell yeah. Can get you two really good guards. Speaking of, a player that I do think Louisville is very interested in, does not fit the typical mold of the players that Louisville's gone after the last couple of years. which I kind of like. We mentioned him being in the portal on Friday. Miles Byrd from San Diego State, who was the Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year this past season. Decent scorer, averaged double figures the last 2 years, but is primarily known for his defense. Sign me up for a guy like that. Let's, as long as you're not like completely inept on offense, we could use a couple of defense first players. I think we found that out this year. Plus, it seems like we're targeting more of the bigger guards. He's 6'6", 190, can handle it well despite being a 6'6" guy. Passes it well, shoots it well enough that you got to at least respect the outside shot. But is primarily known as the guy that you put on the other team's best scorer and just goes to work. I'd be thrilled if we go out there and land Miles Byrd. I think he's exactly the type of player that last year's team was missing. You need one of those, at least. So you got those names out there. We've talked about Flory Badunga, who obviously would be a dreamland. I think a lot of this, some of the big names that Louisville is maybe thinking about, they hinge on coaching decisions. We don't know who Carolina's going to hire. I think there's growing belief that it's going to be Tommy Lloyd whenever Arizona's season comes to an end. But that could change. Maybe Tommy Lloyd goes out there, wins a national title, and falls even more in love with Arizona, where he's from, and says thanks but no thanks to UNC. But there will be a ripple effect if Carolina hires a coach that players on that roster don't feel comfortable with. If Bill Self retires, there obviously will be a gigantic ripple effect when it comes to their roster and the guys that they've got coming in for next season. Tyron Stokes, well, there will be a big thing there. All that talent, I think, will become available, even if they hire a good coach, and I think we have interest in some of those guys. So, there are other names floating around out there. I think Louisville's, they're doing their homework. They know exactly who's available right now. They know, I think, to a degree, guys who are going to be available over the coming weeks, and they've done their homework. They're ready to go to work. Case in point, big one in the portal today, Jeremiah Wilkinson from Georgia. He was at Cal a couple of years ago, played very well against us there. I think scored 19 points in that game against us 2 seasons ago. Averaged 17.5 points per game this season for a good Georgia team that made the NCAA tournament. He's a bucket. He's a guy that will go out there and score on just about anybody. If we could get involved there, I think that's a guy that you talked about ponying up sizable money for 3 or 4 players in this year's portal class. I think that would be one that's going to demand easily 7 figures. So definitely a name to keep an eye out for. It's it's nerve-wracking to have no guaranteed players for next season, but when you see some of the names that are out there and you hear about the efforts that Louisville's going to right now to build this roster, it's still exciting. This is. Do I wish that things were more like they used to be? Sure, I think everybody does a little bit, but it's great for us. Like, there's never any shortage of things to talk about right when the season ends, Roman, because we got like 15 roster spots to fill. Whether it's
bring the Bird kid in, go grab KJ Lewis, see if you can get Avdalis in for cheap.
Do you want Avdalis? He was a little bit of a letdown.
I think he'd be better in a system like ours.
But see, here's the thing. I think he's the exact type of player that would just frustrate this fan base because he's talented, but he just, for whatever reason, does not seem to have that dog in him a little bit, and he doesn't seem to get the most out of his abilities. I think that's a guy who would have fit in, and this is a kind of an insult, he would have fit in way too easily on last year's team. I kept thinking that guy was going to be better than he was. I mean, we punked him a little bit when we played Virginia Tech.
Yeah, he couldn't defend like I thought he might be able to, but he could pass and
he's skilled.
The shooting was interesting because he had games this season where he lighted up, and then other games where he's 1 for 5, 1 for 6, 2 for 6 from the field. I think that if you bring a kid like that into high-paced offense like this, where he's just getting to make quick decisions, quick shots, not asking him to do too much, I wouldn't be mad. I think he probably lost some value after this season as well with the Virginia Tech game, which is kind of why I say that. The KJ Lewis kid, though, I really like him.
You've got no shortage of options already out there. I think Tyler Lundblade, I believe I mentioned that name last week from Belmont, is another name that fans should know that I think we will get involved with. But, you've got KJ Lewis obviously would be a great one. Kwame Evans, I know a lot of people talked about. I don't know if there's mutual interest there. But a lot of focus on the center position for Louisville for obvious reasons. We felt like it was a weak spot last year. I think they know they've got to get bigger and brawnier at that spot moving forward. I know a lot of people saw the kid from St. Mary's, the 7'3", Andrew McKeever, announce that he was headed there. There will be more bigs enter the portal in the weeks to come. And I think there will be some big-time names that we can go after. So they know. They're aware of the fact that they got bullied too much and that they need a better rim protector, a more physical presence on both ends of the floor, a guy who's a classic. If he's open around the rim, he's not going to pass up a layup and to throw the ball out for a three-point shot.
Yeah.
He's going to take the easy two and convert the easy two. They know they need a player like that. They're going after multiple guys who fit that mold, and I think that will be, hopefully, good when all's said and done. But it's a monumentally important offseason for Pat Kelsey and company. We've already had a couple of assistants move on. I still think there's one lower-level guy who's probably going to move on at some point this week, and then we'll hear about where they're going for replacements after that. Did you see that Kentucky hired a new assistant today?
Yeah, we got into this during the run-in with Roman show.
Mo Williams, former NBA player whose son just committed to Kentucky last week. He had been – this is the third, I think, current D1 head coach who's taken on an assistant job at a major program over the past 48 hours. It's not hard to see why. The mid-major, low-major level of college basketball is being bled dry. There's not a lot of money down there, and even though I'm sure these guys have worked hard to be in a position where they're having more control and they're able to kind of assert their basketball knowledge, there's a financial implication. You have more job security and you're being paid better as an assistant at a power conference program than you are as a head coach at the MEAC, the Big West level. We saw Cal Baptist's coach coming off of an NCAA tournament run take a major conference assistant job this week. It's the way that it is. Both those
probably
coaches
going to get you closer to a head coaching job at a major spot than at a lower spot too.
Maybe
head coaching at a lower spot. Because
keep in mind, both those coaches, they took jobs where their sons had just committed.
Yeah.
So there's that as well.
True.
Bo Williams, his son just committed. Now the question will become, do they get Deshaun Ruffin from Jackson State? We saw him play this year. He's good. He averaged a ton of points, but averaging 23.2 points at the MEAC level. Not sure how great that will translate if Kentucky does go ahead and try to make him there. I can't imagine Kentucky goes all in and says, well, this is our point guard for next season. If they do, I think that would be a dramatic error in judgment. But they got a vacancy now. Jalen Lowe's back in the portal. Would you take Jalen Lowe at Louisville?
Not even
Absolutely
a little
not.
bit.
Absolutely not. You can't do that. But there are things happening at Kentucky.
I wouldn't want Jalen Lowe to be like a red shirt.
What do you make of Mark Pope? I don't think we talked about this last week because there was just so much going on. Mark Pope tried to make the excuse that they built their offense last season partially around Jalen Lowe being left-handed. And when he was out, it's like we couldn't figure things out. We couldn't get our left and right down because we practiced all offseason for a left-handed offense. I mean, that's one of the worst excuses I've ever heard.
Idiotic.
It's ridiculous. It's just, so my mom taught me how to tie my shoes left-handed because she's left-handed. I still do it. I could easily figure out how to tie my shoes right-handed. It's one simple move, one different crossover, one different loop. I could make it happen if I needed to. It would not be. I can't be like, well, I can't tie my shoes. Period. If I can't do it left-handed, you can figure this out. You're a big boy. You get paid millions of dollars. Come on, man. But there's, like I said, there's weird stuff going on right now. What do we make of? There was the official word that North Carolina is pushing back its coaching search until after the Final Four. I mean, this has to mean Tommy Lloyd, right?
I think so.
I thought it was very strange, and Arizona fans have pushed back against this. But I thought it was very strange that Tommy Lloyd, during his post-Elite Eight victory press conference, talked about he was giving compliments to Arizona and saying the exact quote was, "The sun may be shining on this team and me coaching it right now. When it's shining on you, you have to fight like hell to protect it and build it. That's what I feel like my number one responsibility is. For those who came before me and for those who are going to follow after me. Arizona's going to have another good coach after me. I promise you. This place is special."
Sounds like someone who kind of already knows he's moving on.
Why would you even talk? There's no coach who sees himself at his current job for the rest of his life who says something like, they're going to have a great coach after me for no reason when it's coming off of the program's first trip to the Final Four since 2001. He's been the front runner, it kind of sounds like, behind closed doors for a week or so. With him making this comment, with Carolina pushing back its timeline, it screams to me that he's going to get that job. I don't think Billy Donovan's a real thing. I don't think Otzelberger's already said he's not taking it. Nate Oates is saying he's not taking it. It seems like it's Tommy Lloyd or bust. The interesting thing, like I said, will be changes of hearts can happen this time of year. If Arizona has this extra week to talk to him, to try to talk him out of it, if they go out there and beat Michigan on Saturday and win a national title a week from tonight, does that change his mind? And if it does, where the hell does Carolina go from that point? I will take a break when we come back. Game Day Men's Health text line is open. 502-414-1450 is the number there. Also, the YouTube chat at Big X Sports Radio Louisville. We'll take your comments as well. Whatever's on your mind on this Monday, we'll get to it after the break. It's the Rutherford Show. Big X. Hour number two Monday edition, Mike Rutherford Show, 1450, 96.1 Big X Sports Radio. Before we go to the Gameday Men's Health text line, 502-414-1450, we have to talk at least for a second about what happened yesterday, specifically what happened last night in the East Region Final between Duke and Connecticut. I always try to refrain from in-game calling the ending type tweets because you see it happen all the time. Every Louisville game ever, we get down 10-2 and people are like, game's over, we suck, and then we win by 18 and you look like an idiot. It happens all the time. And I made that mistake when Duke is up by 19 points in the second half, early in the second half. I make some sort of tweet about the Final Four is going to be phenomenal. At least it better be because these regional finals have not been great. And it looked like Duke was going to run away with this one, and it was going to be 4 games in 4 finals where the 4 favorites all won by double figures. And then UConn starts chipping away a little bit. Terrace Reed Jr. holding his own, keeping them within striking distance. Roman, they missed 17 of their first 18 three-point attempts. Could not hit anything. Silas Demery makes a couple in a row. Caravan hits a big one late. And Duke starts to kind of do – remember we talked about this after the first game when they came back and beat us where I was like, we need to get behind by like 13 against these guys and just see what happens. And then we did that and we lost by 31. So it didn't work out great for us. But when Duke has lost under Shire, it's almost always happened when they've been ahead by double figures. They had – I think the stat was all 4 of their losses this season. They had been ahead by 13 points or more. Or all 3 of their losses this season, they've been ahead by 13 points or more. And Carolina came back, Texas Tech came back, and then obviously UConn winds up coming back. But the way in which it ended, people kind of forget Cameron Boozer made a bad turnover in the last minute. They're up by 4. A bucket, it feels like, puts them away. Cam Boozer loses the ball in the lane. They come down. UConn gets the ball to Caravan. He hits a 3, makes it a 1-point game. And then Boozer scores. Cam Boozer scores to make it a 3-point game. Cam Boozer commits kind of a bad foul with 10 seconds to go. And it seems like they get lucky because Demery goes to the line and only makes 1 out of 2. But there's 10 seconds left. Duke doesn't even have to get the ball across midcourt. You can literally do 55 different things. And they would all
just stand and hold it.
They would all be better than what Caden Boozer elected. If he drop kicked the ball into the crowd, it would have been a better choice than what he ended up doing. If he had thrown the ball directly like to John Shire on the side, would have been better. If he'd fallen on the ground and rolled around and gotten a trap, would have been a better idea than what he did.
If he shot it even.
If he shot it on his own goal and missed, would have been a better idea. Hell, if he would have made a 2-pointer on his own goal, would have been a better idea than what ended up happening. He tried to do this is what I would call the 8-year-old getting pressed for the first time.
I don't know if I should dribble or pass.
Yeah, like there's a bigger kid than me. I don't know what to do. I'm just going to jump in one-hand throw and just see what happens. And classic Mike Rutherford move from when I started playing basketball when you could press for the first time. I'm just throwing it right into these big kids' hands and just hoping for the best. That's what he did. Didn't go great. Braylon Mullins, who had hit 10 of his last 58 three-point attempts from him, was 0 for 4 going into those closing seconds. He comes up with the ball, gives it to Caravan, who's one of the most clutch players in the country. Caravan gives it right back. No hesitation, 35-foot launch, nothing but net.
38-foot launch.
Maybe 40, yeah, somewhere around there. Absolutely one of those March moments that you know the second it happens, you're like, we're going to be seeing that every single year from now until eternity. I mean, you've got the crowd. Every reaction video is better than the last one. The crowd goes absolutely nuts. You've got Bill Murray celebrating with the band. You got Dan Hurley going noggin with a ref afterwards. It's just pure. You've got,
which is probably dumber than the Caden decision.
Absolutely dumb, but it's Hurley. He's dumb. When it comes to stuff like that, not basketball, obviously. He knows what he's doing when it comes to coaching. You got John Shire looking like the Cristiano Ronaldo golden statue face, where he's, I mean, just the goofiest face I've ever seen in my entire life as that shot goes in. The rest of his staff, every Duke fan, just absolutely stunned for all the success that they've had. This has been a weird run of like crazy disappointment for Duke, dating back to, I would say, the Zion year. Because the Zion year, they survive a couple of games in the tournament they probably shouldn't. They get stunned in the Elite Eight. 2020, they're going to be a 1 seed in the tournament. Legitimate national title aspirations. COVID cancels the tournament. The next year, they beat us in the ACC tournament. They've got a shot to win the ACC tournament and, secure an NCAA tournament bid. Team gets COVID. They've got to forfeit the rest of the ACC tournament. 2022, Coach K's last run. You're feeling like, this is a team of destiny. You lose to North Carolina in the last game at Cameron Indoor, but you make a Final Four. It's a storybook ending. You lose to your arch rivals the first time you've ever played them in the NCAA tournament in the Final Four in Coach K's last game. Incredibly awful. 2023, second round loss to Tennessee. Upset. They punk you in John Shire's first year. 2024, all you've got to do is beat a terrible NC State team that has no business playing in an Elite Eight, and you lose to them by 12 when you're a 9-point favorite in the Elite Eight. Last year, you're up, 9 points on Houston with just over a minute to go. You've got a 97.5% chance of victory. All-time collapse until this year where you have a 19-point lead. You got a 15-point halftime lead. 1 seeds, the stat got thrown around a lot yesterday. 1 seeds have been 134-0 in the tournament when they had a 15-point or more halftime lead. You become the one. 97.8% chance of victory. The likelihood of losing both those games, the UConn game this year and the Houston game last year, I saw it today, 0.007%. It's unthinkable that you could lose games in back-to-back years in that fashion, and that's exactly what they've done. And now you've got this crazy, weird thing where John Shire is like the winningest first 4-year head coach of all time, and everybody's questioning whether or not he's the right guy for the job. Because when they lose, it's in the absolute most unthinkable fashion possible. I mean, that was an all-timer yesterday, Roman.
It was. I've never seen a comeback like that.
I screamed when it happened. Mary, our kids got mad at us for yelling when the shot went in. I was like, what do you want me to do? It was an all-time shot. Braylon Mullins Supermaned it up. In a year where freshmen have been the conversation from basically start to finish, he's not talked about all that much. He has the biggest moment of the season. Wild. Now we got a stacked Final Four. Arizona, Michigan in the game that felt like it was coming all season long.
Can you imagine, though, if we're talking about how Duke wins that game from 2 free throws from a technical foul from Dan Hurley's headbutt?
Yeah, it would have been.
This would have been a perfect wrap-up to the UConn season right there with the way that he kind of acted and they performed in a lot of games.
It would have been that would have been an all-time moment. You can't do. A lot of people are saying he was just trying to hear what the ref said. I mean, he still has that goofy ass look on his face as he's doing it. I thought it was AI when I saw it this morning going around everywhere. I thought someone had just made that up, but it very clearly is a real video, and it's a wild move. But yeah, that would have been an all-time. Did you hear the Duke radio broadcast where the guy? He goes.
I didn't hear it, but Matt talked about that.
I don't even feel like I'm not even going to criticize him that much because we all do it as fans. But it does feel like such a Duke moment where he goes. He just announced. He's like, and he made it. Malachi Smith just ran out on the floor. That should be a technical. And as everybody has noted this morning, Malachi Smith was actually on the floor. He wasn't on the bench. He was one of the 5 UConn players. But the guy just going through the stages of grief immediately goes into denial. This can't be happening. You got to tee him up. It was just, it's an all-time moment. And, I mean, UConn, I know the stat is they're 3-3 against Duke all time in the tournament. But all 3 of their losses kind of came before the big era of UConn success. And their 3 wins over Duke have come against 3 of the best Duke teams of all time in the tournament. 99, people say that's maybe the greatest team to not win at all. I know Kentucky fans would disagree. But UConn stuns them in the national title game. 04, everyone knew that Final Four game was the actual national championship game, so much so that they changed the rule after that year to make it so that the number 1 overall seed can't play the number 2 overall seed in the Final Four because those were clearly the 2 best teams. And Emeka Okafor and company knock out Duke in the by 1 point in the Final Four. And then this year, Elite Eight, one of the better Duke teams in recent memory, UConn, clearly an inferior team knocks them off in the most just unhinged fashion possible, and now they get a chance to go play in the Final Four. By the way, an 18-game winning streak for UConn in games in the tournament that are played beyond the second round. That's dating back to their 2011 national championship. Danny Hurley has never lost a game after the second round of the tournament. 12-0 in games from the Sweet 16 or beyond. That's nuts.
It's ridiculous.
I don't think they can keep that up this weekend.
Win it all now.
Do you really?
Yes.
I think whoever wins the Arizona-Michigan game, sign me up for that. I think that's the real national title game.
I think if Arizona wins that game, give me Arizona. But if it's Michigan, I like UConn in that one.
I'm sticking with Michigan. I'm trying to keep my 4-year streak of picking the correct national champion alive. I'm sticking with the Wolverines, but to me, that's the game. Bully ball has become the topic of college basketball. Those are the two preeminent bully ball teams in the country, and it's going to be an absolute war. But good stories all around. I mean, Illinois, it's a rabid fan base that had some down years, hasn't been to the Final Four since they beat us in 2005.
They're the favorite. I'm acting as if UConn's already won that game.
Yeah, I mean, I think Illinois is going to win that game if it's me. They made me do prediction post today. So I picked Illinois officially, and I've got them losing to Michigan. But I think whoever wins the second game on Saturday night is going to be your national champion. But crazy things have happened. UConn, big run. It's been a good tournament so far. A lot of blowouts, not a lot of Cinderellas, but when the games have been good, they've been really good, and we've had some fantastic finishes. Dating back to St. John's game winner, the Vanderbilt Nebraska game was an all-timer, and then obviously Duke UConn on Saturday was a game that will stand the test of time. Gameday Men's Health text line 502-414-1450. Let's see what's on your all's minds today on this glorious Monday afternoon. Texter says, hey, Mike, you may have already mentioned this before you get to the text line, but Julie Donovan just said Coastal Carolina head coach Justin Gray has been offered the assistant position here. I'm not sure what to think if this pans out. He's another Skip Prosser connection and assistant PK at Winthrop. It seems if this happens, he's just replacing familiarity with this move and not making a huge philosophical shift to shore up the D. So I'm not really sure if this is the move. Yeah, we are potentially joining the ranks of the like what I just said, the major conference programs that are adding a mid-major, low-major head coach to their staff. We'll see if that pans out. I do think I mentioned this on Friday. If you missed it, that's fine. I may have to walk back the take that they're looking to replace two assistants with one guy. I think that was originally the plan. There may be some, it's a transactional world now. There may be an assistant out there who says, I can get you so-and-so to come with me if you add me to your staff. That may wind up happening. It may not wind up happening based on what some head coaches decide to do. So there's still that out there. But it does sound like Justin Gray is very much in play for a primary assistant job on the staff next season. Texas Mike is Chris Teacher. Mike, I literally cannot wrap my mind around how badly Duke melted down, choked, panicked, and folded. The ACC Coach of the Year should just have to answer a lot of hard questions like, quote, just how much poop did you have in your pants? Do you agree that this is on the Mount Rushmore of catastrophic sports failures of all time, or am I overreacting? It's up there on craziest collapses. I mean, last year's Houston game is up there too.
It's definitely up there.
I mean, I think the all-timer is still Northern Iowa blowing a 12-point lead in, 43 seconds against Texas A&M?
You mean on Rushmore or in college basketball?
College basketball.
Yeah.
If we're talking like all-time.
Falcons,
Falcons, Patriots, 28-3, absolutely. There's the Bills-Oilers game where it was like 32-0. Frank Wright leading the big comeback there. That was one of the defining comebacks of my childhood that I still remember. The Warriors blowing the 3-1 lead.
Yep, that'd be next.
That'd be a big one as well.
That was the first time it's ever happened, so that's probably up there with the 28-3.
And, I mean, you've got to have Yankees blowing the 3-0 lead against the Red Sox.
That's the next one.
In 04.
That was the first time it had happened, right?
It's the only time it's happened.
Yeah, only time.
Yeah, still, to this day. Only time it's ever happened, and it's the biggest rivalry in the sport.
It's kind of crazy, like 3 of the Mount Rushmores are all in my life.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's some from, like, before way before we were born. I would say also the
got to be in a tournament or final setting, I think, to make the Rushmore.
There's a couple of golf ones. Greg Norman blowing the lead at that Masters.
I've heard about that.
To Nick Faldo, and then the Jean Van de Velde meltdown at the British Open where he lost his mind and made like a 8 or whatever it was on the last hole to blow a 4-shot lead, and then he lost in a playoff. Are there ones that we're forgetting?
28-3, 3-1, and then the Red Sox. Those are always the first three that come to mind.
I think we did a pretty good job there. Greg Norman, big time.
How much was Duke up?
19 in the second half.
Yeah, that's all-time bad.
All-time bad. Mets 2007 when they had like that crazy collapse. There's been some bad ones. Texture says, where does Duke's loss rank in all-time NCAA tournament choke jobs? This boxcar Bob. It's way up there. There's no question about it. I mean, when you think choke jobs, you think about individual players doing something, or the Chris Webber timeout
when they didn't have one.
Yeah, against Carolina in the title game. But even then, like, they were already losing. They needed to make a shot. This is different, where it was an all systems failure. It took the whole team getting together and just not doing anything right down the stretch, or coming close to not doing anything right, and also UConn making crazy plays. Like I said, like I don't even know which is worse, this one or what they did last year in the Final Four against Houston, because like that was a pretty unthinkable collapse as well, and it happened on a slightly bigger stage in the Final Four. But it's this is becoming as much of a theme of the John Shire era, at least early on, as anything else. I want to throw the hot take out there that's been debated.
BYU's 25-point deficit to Iona.
That was a first 4 game. That was crazy. That was wild. But that
biggest in tournament history. But that's
it. But like nobody else remembers. I remember that Iona team only got put in the NCAA tournament because they scored like 1 billion points a game. Nobody thought they were going to get a bid. They ended up getting one, and they put them in the first 4 against BYU, and like. That was crazy, but they'd also done it like 3 or 4 times already that year, where they'd had like just unthinkable collapses in games. It was crazy to watch, but it was not, and it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't even a main draw game.
Nevada was down 22 to Cincy in 2018.
Yeah,
Duke was down 22 to Maryland in 2001.
That was a regular season game. That was
Final Four. Without the AI.
No, that was they played in the Final Four that year, but that game was insane, where they made that huge comeback in the last minute. That was a defining game of my youth. Let me ask you this. There's been a college basketball debate raging after a hot take I posted last night, where someone said, John Shire's actually done a worse job over the last 4 years than Hubert Davis. If one of those two guys deserves to get fired, it's Shire more than Davis because of the talent that he's wasted. Agree, disagree?
Agree.
Oh, really?
I think it's tough just because when you look at where they lost this year. But the expectation matters in that stance, too. When you're preseason top 5 team, top 1 team, you're expected to go at least be in the Final Four in the national championship game. 2 years in a row, you haven't done that.
I mean, Carolina's inconsistencies have been much more. We're talking about a guy who's missed the tournament twice and had one run in the tournament past the Sweet 16. The Duke losses have been embarrassing, but we're still talking, 1 seed, 2 seed, 3 seed. They've been good. They've just collapsed on the biggest of stages.
That matters, though.
It does. It matters, but if you were comparing him to somebody else, I could buy it more than Hubert Davis. I think it's over the top. But if you want to say like they're the new Kentucky when it comes to not winning titles, Con Knippel and Cooper Flagg are they the 2 best rookies in the NBA this year?
Yes.
And you couldn't beat a Houston team that didn't really have
Cooper Flagg's talking. We're talking about one of the best rookie seasons ever.
Really?
Yeah.
Year before that, you've got not to the same degree, but you've got Kyle Filipowski and you've got Jared McCain, Tyrese Proctor. You've got a very good team, and you can't beat an NC State team that finished 11th in the ACC. Probably should have been able to get the job done there. Year before that.
I mean, you've got Sion James, Malawak. You've had a ton of NBA guys.
Yeah.
In a 3-year span. And
they have. And one Final Four and no titles to show for it. Like, they're kind of like Shire, I think absolutely. I know he's young, and I know this is his first 4 seasons of college basketball, but
one Final Four, no titles isn't that bad of a thing.
He's the Duke head coach, though.
When you look at where Duke's getting in these seasons, yes, those are successful seasons, but these 2 losses,
well, I was going to say
all-time bad losses.
He deserves the same criticism that Calipari was getting back in the Kentucky days.
Yeah,
when he was having all these first-round draft picks, and they were having some kind of inexplicable losses in the tournament. Now, Cal won it in his, 3rd year at UK, so he had that to fall back on. But after 2015, I think a lot of people were like, just one title? All these NBA picks? You're starting to get to that point early on with Shire where that's becoming what people think of just as much as they think of the success and the ACC titles and the 1 seeds and all that stuff. And, that's what comes with the job, man. Until you win that first one, everyone's going to look at all this talent and say, you had 2 National Players of the Year, 5 top 10 draft picks. You can't give us more than you can't hold on to a 19-point lead against a 2-seed UConn. Can't hold on to a 9-point lead with a minute to go against a, good but not as good as you Houston team. That's kind of on you, man. Also, that goofy face isn't helping anything. That's going to be memed for years. Texter says, Kings running back Ian Wheeler has aspirations to be a doctor after his playing days are over. Good for him. If he doesn't improve his play this year, he might want to get a jump start on that. While he probably has more experience than I do diagnosing things, I would chop up that fumble in the end zone as dog poop. Though his counterpart, Kentucky's Golden Goose Benjamin Snell, didn't fare much better, running for an incredible 12-yard performance. I heard the running backs were rough.
Yeah. Started off like it was going to be okay, but
I blame Benny Snell.
Should have gave it to him down there on the goal line.
He's not. He can't get you a yard, apparently. That's what they're saying.
Got to open up the run game a little bit.
Texas, I've been making fun of Caden Boozer all year, mostly because he is the absolute prime example of your twin brother stealing all the good genes from you. Top it off with the 12 different commercials they have, and I could not be happier to be done with them. That being said, I feel awful for him. I hope he's a nice kid because he already is outshined by his brother in every way, and now he's got the weight of a generational mistake that he'll surely never stop thinking about. I was thinking about this last night, too. And, look, I love crapping on Duke as much as anybody. I saw the jokes about, Cam Boozer should have eaten Caden in the womb, all that stuff out there. I watched his post-game interview in the locker room, and I did genuinely, feel terrible for him. First of all, he handled it like a pro. I mean, we see pro athletes all the time that just skip out on, Rory McIlroy's not talking to the press after he blows the U.S. Open. Coaches will skip press after terrible games. He sat there and took the questions, knowing what they were going to be. This is a kid who I can't imagine how frustrating it is to be as good at something as Caden Boozer is at basketball and still kind of get made fun of it because just how good your brother is, your twin brother is. I'm sure it probably hasn't happened until relatively recently because I don't think Cameron got a lot bigger than he was until 13, 14 years old. But for the last 4 or 5 years, all he's heard about is I'm the other Boozer. I'm the other Boozer twin. I'm the not good Boozer twin. Well, he's still a top 50 player in his class and, good enough to start part of his freshman season at Duke. Clearly a very talented basketball player, but never going to be talked about in the same terms as his brother is, who's about to be likely a top 5 pick in the draft, going to win every National Player of the Year award. And when you make a mistake at that level, regardless of how good you've been over the past 5 months, that's all anybody's going to remember about your freshman season. You ruined your brother's dream year. And I heard him talking about, he's crying about how this may be my only chance to play with my brother, the last chance I get to ever be on a team with my brother. And I feel like I let him down. I feel like I let everybody down. I ruined it. And that's got to be just remarkable. I don't care how privileged you were growing up. I don't care, how much of a silver spoon you've been eating with for your entire life. That's a very difficult thing to process mentally when you're 18, 19 years old. And knowing that it's going to stick with you your entire it made me genuinely feel bad for him. And I can't root for Duke. I do hope he has a big moment in a big game at some point over the next couple of years to make up for it. Because, he's probably...
I don't feel bad for him.
You don't?
No. I feel bad. The only thing
I'm the more sentimental of the two of us.
I feel bad for him for the fact that he has to sit there and like wonder why the universe made his brother however many inches taller every day.
So you think he should
That's
take
all it is.
His anger should be placed with the gods.
Yes.
More.
You got unlucky. You're an average elite guard for your age at this point, and your brother's a quote unquote, lottery first overall pick type of talent because he grew to be a little bit bigger than you. Tough luck. You're still a boozer. You're still set to have a very successful life.
I did the mean part of me.
Kingston Fleming's interview was tougher to watch.
I felt bad for Kingston.
I didn't realize his
too.
last high school game went the way it did. Like that.
I didn't either. I did. There was a very mean part of me that wanted a Carlos Boozer shot after the game. Because God knows they showed him 75 times during every other Duke game. I was like, let me know how Dad's handling this one. Give me that shot. Inject it into my veins. Didn't happen, though. But Caden Boozer probably coming back to Duke next year. But I felt bad for him watching that interview. Let's take a break. When we come back, more from you guys. Game Day Men's Health text line 502-414-1450. We haven't forgotten about you either, YouTube Nation. We'll start the next segment with your thoughts. Keep them coming after the break. It's the Rutherford Show. Big X. O'clock hour here. Mike Rutherford Show, presented by United Mechanical and Nexus Plus. Here with Roman Kelly, the voice of the Louisville Kings in-game experiences. What did you have to? So we talked about this at the beginning of the show. I know you did a great job. I know you were nervous at the beginning, and then you crushed it. What did? Give me some examples of what you were throwing it to. Were there like games or?
No, there was actually where there would have been a lot of games and stuff. They had other in-game entertainment specific for those spots, like a King-specific brass band. They're called the Hot Sauce Brass Band. They've got their own name. They were like a third party. And then the Oldham County Marching Band. So you're throwing it to them a few different times. Then we had our guitar cam. So I basically initiate that, let the fans know about it, and then do it a little bit myself before it gets thrown to the fans who are going all out.
What do you mean, the guitar cam? You do
air guitar cam.
You do like an air guitar?
Yeah, air guitar.
Nice.
Cam. Then we do the dance cam as well, introducing the Kings Guard, which is a dance / hype team from Murray State. I believe it's the Murray State dance team. So that was cool. There was a couple of other spots where I would have had to like teach a chant. Didn't have that, so we taught the battle cry. I kind of improvised all that. That was like the one spot where I went fully off script, did my own thing, grabbed one of the signs from the Kings Guard where it said "Hail yeah" and taught the crowd, where I kind of gave the build up. Oh, and then I held the sign up as the crowd chanted "Hail yeah" at the same time. So that was fun. Nothing else too crazy because I didn't get the chance to do the chant, and we missed one other spot as well for some timing issues. But
is that your fault?
No, nothing.
Okay.
Nothing.
Just making sure.
My fault.
Just making sure.
I would accept it if it was.
When's the next home game now?
April 10th.
Okay, so you got a little time to get situated,
practice a few more things,
get back into the groove, and then you'll be ready to go again.
Gave away some tickets as well to some guys in the middle of the game, and they ended up tweeting at me, and they like recorded that whole moment, so that was fun.
Very cool. Love it. I mean, I love seeing all the people who were texting me pictures of you up on the big screen. It was a proud moment. I was glad you did great. Everyone, nobody said anything bad besides producer Keith, who said he booed you. That was it. That was the only person who sent me anything that was somewhat negative.
I needed that boo.
Sometimes you need a little, your haters can be fuel. Sometimes you need a little bit of negative reinforcement to get you really focused. I agree with that. Tyron Stokes tweeted an hour ago, "When does it stop?" Laughing, crying emoji. I have no idea what this would be about. Also, is it weird? I kind of zone out during the commercials during the NCAA tournament, except for the one of the guy dunking the fry into the Frosty. It's driving me crazy.
You like that one?
No, I hate it. I've seen it a billion times. But he's got his own. He's in a commercial for, was it AT&T or Puma? Or, it's an ad with Little Dicky, where Little Dicky's like, "That's Tyron Stokes down there." I'm like, I mean, I'm all for like college kids getting their shine in these commercials. I think it's fine.
You haven't done anything yet.
High school kids being in national commercials is a little bit over the top, especially when, like, I think there's at least a potential for him to be kind of a controversial figure next year. We'll see. Maybe he'll mature up a little bit. But I saw that. I was like, Jesus, these kids, imagine being in a national commercial as you're getting ready to go to prom. Although I don't know if Tyron's going through the standard senior high school stuff, but it's all very, very interesting. I don't know if this is in relation to something about Bill Self or rumors that are out there. Who the hell knows? Maybe someone's not giving him $1 billion or whatever they're asking for. But, I mean, who knows? Kentucky fans, they're holding out some hope. I still think, as good as he is as a prospect, I still think that marriage between him and Mark Pope would be, I would need a documentary. Because I don't think Tyron Stokes listens to one word Mark Pope says the entire season. And maybe that works. Maybe it ends up being great and he's just that good. Or maybe it winds up being a disaster. But I feel like you bring Tyron Stokes onto a Mark Pope-led program. Tyron Stokes is running that team next year. He's doing whatever the hell he wants.
It's his offense.
He's not, I mean, Mark Pope is like, we're running, horns. And he's like, no, we're not. We're running power. Give me the ball. I'm not he's not listening to one thing that Mark Pope says. It's not happening. Gameday Men's Health text line's 502-414.
And Mark Pope's going to do that thing where he's like acting like it's all mutual. And if they're like,
oh, yeah. It would just be, I think it would be a disaster, but we'll find out. Gameday Men's Health text line 502-414-1450. Reminder, Gameday Men's Health, redefining men's wellness, no shortcuts, just results. Testosterone, peptides, weight loss, sexual performance therapy, and more. Visit GameDayMensHealth.com today to find out what they can do for you. I promised I would do this. Let's go to the YouTube chat here. Tartan Chalice says, Fit Check, Mike last wore this hoodie on February 25th. I feel like it was longer ago. This gray one. I don't wear that much because I don't want the full-on growl fit, but you can't really see that I'm wearing kind of like black shorts today. So, Star Wars says, interesting how UConn is more equipped to stop a one-and-done freshman-laden team in the NCAA tournament than Rick Pitino, who seems to mostly scout UConn well. I thought St. John's played a really good game against Duke. I thought it was a case of just Duke being better. Like St. John's was up by 1 with a minute and a half to go. And Duke hit 2 just almost impossible to defend shots. Isaiah Evans hit a step-back 3 that was very well guarded. And then Boozer hit like a one-handed off-balance right-hand bank shot as he got fouled for an and one. And that was the game. Those 2 plays were basically the game there. And, I mean, St. John's did everything they could. I thought they played really – I think if Duke played the way that they played against UConn, against St. John's wins. And then, they were 2-1 against the Huskies this year. Maybe they would have gone on to the Final Four, but, yeah. John Lambert says, Jody reported that he wouldn't be surprised if there are 0 returning players next year. Not my boy, Zoo. It kind of sounds like that's a growing possibility. I mentioned the Zoo stuff there later. Woolley has always kind of been seen as a more likely to go than stay type player. Like I said, I don't know what's going on with Kanai. I know that he is at least listening to stuff that's out there, as he should. And the only ones that I've heard nothing about are London Johnson and Mo Kamara. So
teams with 0 returning players typically aren't that successful.
No, they're not. And it's not like any of these guys. I mean, none of these guys were starters. I guess besides Zoo, and he was not really a starter. So you're not talking about any of your 5 best players from the past season. I still would. I just like the idea of 2 years from now having a senior day for Kanai after he played 4 years here. And when you look at the teams that are having the most success in college basketball, most of them, not all of them, but most of them are returning at least 3 or 4 key contributors from the past season.
They're doing it with sophomores and juniors that have been there and gone and grabbed a couple of seniors out of the portal, bringing in a couple of freshmen.
And here's the thing, if we do go complete roster haul again this year, you're probably doing it again next season too. We don't have any incoming freshmen as of right now. If we're not bringing anybody back from this year's roster, or maybe just like one guy, we're probably going to bring in a bunch of seniors from the portal again. We'll have a lot of one-year players honored on senior day again. And then you're right back in the exact same situation 12 months from now. So, we do have those 2 players committed from the 27 class. Maybe we're just going all in on the 27 class, and that's where we're going to start our core, and then we'll be really good in like 29-30.
Pat can't afford a gap year.
He can't.
Sorry.
And I don't know if this is – I think
he hasn't earned a gap year yet.
I think he, like everybody else, would love to have more roster retention, to have that core, as much of a culture guy as he is, in the way that he had to build programs at Winthrop and Charleston back in the day. That's probably in his DNA, and I'm sure he thought that would be more of a achievable goal once he got to Louisville. But you're right. He can't afford to take a step back next year, and if he feels like shelling out, if he feels like overpaying for a guy like Kanai or a guy like Zoo or a guy like Adrian or a guy like whoever is going to put him at a disadvantage when it comes to getting better players that can give us a better chance of being highly successful next season, he's got to do what he's got to do. Because, like you said, after having I hate to even say underwhelming, but it was a underachieving season based on preseason expectations. After having that type of year in year 2, you feel like you can't afford to take a step back.
No.
You don't have to win a national title in year 3 for Louisville fans to, I think, see that you can get it done. But you got to have a damn good year.
Because the expectation in a year where you're not expecting as much out of a roster, we would still want you to have a year like you just had this year.
Right, exactly. At the very least, you got to give the fan base hope over the November, December, January, February months that you can make a deep run in the NCAA tournament. The conversation can't be like, can these guys even make the tournament? If that's the case, then all of a sudden we're talking about, does he even deserve a year for it?
Nobody wants to have a conversation about the year after due to all of our young guys, like maybe a Louisville women's team from 2 years ago.
Yeah,
It's not men's college basketball. You don't have that kind of time.
You also can't sell the fan base on it after you've had like good, not great first 2 years.
These 3 or 4 freshmen, sophomores out there and trying to build them up this year, and we think they can be great next year.
Can't do it. No, can't. Nobody's buying it, especially when we've been roster flipping the first 3 years of your tenure here. He's got to get it done. There's no way around it.
But if you have a year like that with portal players, it looks even worse.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want
to bring some names in.
I mean, the fear is at this point, what if we're Kansas State? What if we had a couple of good years with great portal additions, and now this is what we think? It's not sustainable long term. You'll get a bad crop of players that just don't bond well or just don't fit the system as well as you think, and you're going to go out there and have a 15-16 type season. If that happens this year, I think the fan base entirely loses its faith in Pat Kelsey. So, I mean, these 3 weeks, you can make the case that these 3 weeks are as important as any other 3 in the sports calendar for Louisville basketball. Maybe the most important. Cart Scott 5 says, I did wonder if we would have been better with Nate Ament this weekend. Also, Foster playing irrationally made me mad, but hey, what can we do now? I mean, it is sort of the irony of all ironies for us that one of the big themes of the NCAA tournament has been guys playing through pain. Like, that's been... You had Jordan Pope playing on a broken foot, Caleb Foster coming back like 6 weeks earlier than anybody thought he could. You've had, I feel like guys are Nate Ament saying, "I'll do whatever I got to do. I'm not sitting this out." Darius Acup saying the same thing. You've had guys playing through really nasty in-game injuries, and like every time it happens, Louisville fans are like, "Well, must be nice." I think that it's definitely a thing, fair or not.
I met an equipment manager during the Louisville game. He's working for the Kings, as they hired local people to come and do game day operation stuff. And he said that the recruiting guys down at the state, like in their offices, always have the show on listening to us for the Louisville football team.
Oh, for football?
Yeah. They say, yeah, every time I go in the recruiting offices, they always got you and Mike on.
If you're listening right now, you're welcome for what I did with Jihad Brown, guys. Feel free. Feel free to. I'll hit you up with the address. Send flowers. I'm just joking. We thank you guys. You guys are getting it done.
You're the best.
We love you. John Lambert says Trilly also stated that Gray turned us down today. Had not heard that. If Trilly's saying it, it's probably what happened. Sean says, Mike, the Enter the Sandman always reminded me of the Sandman from ECW. ECW. Brodog says we should sign Mike Bray as an assistant. He was my favorite coach when he was at Notre Dame. I would 100% be on board for Mike Bray. The party scene in Louisville would be elevated dramatically. Headliners would be filled every single weekend. That's my guy. Love him. And then the last one on the YouTube chat, Caleb Foster driving hard on Dylan Darling in the second half reminded me too much of our second half against Duke back home in January. That's his go-to move.
Maybe.
Just drive straight into a dude, push him off a little bit, and try to score. That's his go-to. That's the Caleb Foster special right there. I can't even talk bad about him, though, because he played through an injury he had no business playing through, and I respect the hell out of it. He's a tough kid. Good kid. Just gets away with a lot of offensive fouling.
Doesn't have a deep bag for his position.
Doesn't have a deep bag. Did you feel, was there a part of you that felt happy about the way that Jeremy Fierce's season came to an end against UConn?
I'd be lying if I said it didn't.
He had more turnovers in the tournament than made field goals. More flops than both combined, without question. A lot of assists, but not an NBA player. Fraud. Exposed. Not by us, unfortunately, but kind of by Connecticut. I mean, I can't even get that mad because it's who we were, and if we'd won that game, I don't think we would have had any chance of beating UConn. But it's just, like, I don't think Michigan State played well in that game. It sounds like sour grapes, but like it was there for the taking for us, and as has been the case the entire season, we just didn't step up and take it. It was a frustrating game. Would have been a lot cooler to be a Sweet 16 team than a second-round team. What are you going to do? 502-414-1450. Texas,
might be having different conversations about the players returning as well. If that happens.
For sure. I think you're exactly right. Riddler's got a riddle for today. The Riddler is here with his monthly cue. Can you solve this one, or am I a win due? Today's riddle comes to you without my ire. Just kidding, Joshy boy. You know my desire. I don't like the Joshy boy stuff. Today's subject is inspired from the Boozer blunder yesterday. We swept the champion thrice away. It's got to be UConn. Who could put down the loudest of slams? Montrez. Ran it back for the vibes despite being a coveted sixth man. This is Montrez. Once a leader stripped away, he embraced the fear. Got stripped of his captaincy, 2015. Flew high in the air for what seemed like a year. Michigan dunk, national title game. The scoring leader of the series became UConn's uncle. The last letter invisible, that's the L. On the bluebird, we proclaimed dunk. Oh. The Riddler thinks this one was relatively easy. A bonus riddle for you in this last stanza should leave you queasy. Who led the Cardinals in assists in 13 in the second matchup of the Tropics season that ended in the Sweet 16? Well, I don't get the last part. I mean, that's
with 13 assists.
Oh, with 13. Okay, in 13, I was like, let's see. So the riddle answer is Trez. That's the easiest one you've ever given us. Well done, but very easy. Who led the Cardinals in assists with 13 in the second matchup of the Topic season that ended in the Sweet 16? So that would be 2014, because Trez, his other years, we won it all in 2013, Elite Eight loss in 2015. So who led us in assists with 13 in the game against UK? I don't want to talk about it, honestly. I mean, someone had 13 assists in that game. Couldn't have been Russ. I mean, it would have had to have been Terry, I feel like. I know Luke played really well in that game. I feel like I'm misunderstanding the question. I don't think anybody had 13 assists in that game. This is what the Riddler's doing now. You're making me pull up the box score from the worst game of my entire life. I don't want to look at this, but I'm going to do it. Apologize. Where is it? Nobody had assists. We had 11 assists as a team in that game. I must be misunderstanding. Because I have no idea what you're referring to there. Who led the Cardinals in assists with 13
game.
In the second matchup, in the second UConn game? Well, that was Russ. His senior day, he did this thing where he was like, I'm going to prove to everybody that I can be a passer. And he like barely shot. That was when we beat him by 33. And that was the second of three matches. Okay, that makes more sense. So he's talking about UConn. Okay. Russ missed the answer to that part. Texture says, hey, Mark, was there any explanation given for why the women's basketball coaches were wearing baseball jerseys? I don't know. I'm sure there was. I just didn't see it. I don't know.
An interesting look.
Yeah. I don't know. Texture says, sorry. Just trying to catch up with stuff. Mike, did you know that U of L softball is top 10 and they wore some gorgeous pink uniforms this weekend? Let's keep rolling. Are they ranked in the top 10 now? They've had a great year. I did mention on Friday's show the UK comeback. First win in Lexington for the softball team over the Cats since, I think, 2015. Came back from 6-0 down to win 8-7. They swept Georgia Tech over the weekend. Did not realize that I don't think that that's right. I'm looking at the softball poll. They're not in the top 25 right now. They're getting votes in the top 25, but I don't think that they're ranked in the top. No, I mean they're 33rd. They're 32nd in RPI. They're getting votes in the coaches poll, but they are not nationally ranked anywhere, let alone top 10. They're having a good year, though. Looks like they finally might be able to get back to an NCAA tournament. Let's keep it rolling. Did you know that the Kings play Jack Plummer next week and the week after that? I did know we played Jack Plummer in week 2. We played back-to-back games against the same team, Roman?
I didn't. Oh, maybe it is one of those road and away situations.
Why do they do that?
I'm not sure.
We do. We play Orlando in back-to-back games. Saturday, April 4th, we're at Orlando. That'll be on ESPN. And then April 10th, we're right back on that Friday night slot on Fox. 8 o'clock, Fox, national TV, Louisville Kings versus Orlando Storm. That is, Jack Plummer was named as the starting quarterback for that team last week. How do we feel about that?
Beat him up.
I mean, are you taking this as like a revenge game for Jack Plummer?
No. Jack did all he could here. All he was physically capable of.
I agree, but I think some people don't. Texter says it's just the John Shire face. I mean, I can't get it. Every time I see it, when I click on the For You thing on Twitter, all the tweets are just UConn reaction tweets or just John Shire face memes. I mean, he'll never outlook. He looks like Munchie. If anybody remembers the Munchie movies from back in the day. Texas, someone call 911. There's a dog off his leash, and he's mauling our neighbor, Little Pete. Look, the dog's going to do what the dog's going to do. And the dog's going to get us the best local talent, even if UK is going all out for him. Texter says, Tampa card here. Would you say Pat Kelsey is a top 25 coach in the country? Oh. Roman, I'm going to let you answer first while I think about it.
I'm going to say no.
Okay. That's it?
When I think about, actually, yeah, I think he's right there. He's right in that region. He's never beaten a top 15 coach and had many opportunities, but I don't think Mark Pope's up there.
I think he's in. I mean, questions like this are so tough. Just because we're still gathering info, we still don't really know, and it's. I want to say yes. I think he's a good coach. I don't think there's any question about that. Just how good is still up in the air. Can he be a top 10 coach? Because now, roster assembly, managing finances, taking a group of players that all have, crazy different backgrounds, crazy different college treks, and turning them into one cohesive unit, that's as important as just straight up basketball knowledge. And, being able to do that, like he's being asked to do different stuff here at Louisville than like Tom Izzo's doing at Michigan State or another coach that's like Kelvin Sampson's doing at Houston. They're operating in a totally different field. He's also being asked to do different things at Louisville than he's ever been asked to do before at Winthrop and Charleston. And, that was always going to be the case with a step up this much. But it's especially true with, his hiring at Louisville coinciding with this new era of the portal and NIL and all of this new stuff that I think everybody's still kind of figuring out the best way to handle.
That's an interesting aspect.
It's tough.
I think about, what would Steve Forbes look like if you gave him Michigan or Arizona money? Or what would Brad Brownell look like if you gave him top 10 in the country kind of money?
I mean, I
would expect them to do a lot better than they have done.
I think every good coach at every level of basketball is like, if you just gave me those resources and that money and that, just that opening, I'd crush it. Like even coaches of like 10 and 25 teams from the Big South are like, I'm a product of my circumstances. I know the game. I know how to get to players. I'm getting the most out of these guys. And they're probably right. People, NBA people talk about sometimes it's just about fit. Like there are probably guys that could have been fantastic NBA players if they'd had a chance or if they'd gotten drafted into a different franchise. I think that's the case with all fields of athletics. And it's absolutely true with college basketball coaching. Kelsey's in a very advantageous spot now. We'll find out if he can capitalize. I want to say yes, and it's kind of the way that I lean, but a lot of it hinges on how he does this year. We need to see it. We know he's good. Is he great? Texter says, pretty cool that fans were chanting, and that's good for another Kings first down. Very cool. Texas Mike, the pitching on the baseball team makes me want to gouge my bleeping eyes out. We threw 9 guys yesterday, 13 walks, 3 wild pitches, 2 hit by pitches, and 198 pitches to get 27 outs. Sadly, I'm pretty sure we have broken the 200 pitch mark in multiple games this year. Also, we seem to have absolutely no patience at the plate when Zion isn't in the lineup. I have season tickets, but it's hard to justify spending 12 hours of my time every other weekend to watch these performances. The pitching is, I mean, Wyatt Danielewicz is a stud. You've gotten a couple of other guys.
Feels like that's it.
Ty Stark has been pretty good out of the bullpen. I don't think you can trust anybody else on this team right now. They can't throw strikes, and when they do, it's like it feels like every at bat is 4 pitches that are wildly out of the zone, or a couple of pitches that are wildly out of the zone and one right down the middle. Like there's just
After you've already walked someone.
Yeah, like there's no, and we start. It just feels this way. It feels like we start 80% of innings with a 4-pitch walk, and that is, I mean,
Can't even be excited about anything.
no. And you know the offense has been really good so far this year. Tate Davis is having an all-time start to a season. We'll see if Zion can get healthy, but you've got All-Americans. Griffin Crane's been unbelievably good. Lucas Moore's an All-American. And it just feels like, I mean, we're going to struggle to make the NCAA tournament because the pitching's so bad. They got to get going. I mean, you should have been able to take at least 2 or 3 from Pitt this weekend. They couldn't do that. It's a very, very, very concerning start to the season for Louisville baseball.
You know, I just need to go have a sit down with Roger, chat with him.
You can help us out, or you could just join the team. Pitch. They got money for you.
Yeah.
Let's take a break. Hour number 3 is up next. I got one story to get to kick off the hour. More texts, some predictions for the night ahead in sports, then we'll call it a day. It's the Mike Rutherford Show, 1450 961 The Big X.
I got a lump in my throat 'cause you're gonna sing the words wrong. Is this movie that I think you like?
I like this song. It's the final hour here of the Monday edition of the Mike Rutherford Show, 1450 961 Big X Sports Radio. Reminder, if you've been hurt in an accident or on the job, we know it's scary and you can be unsure about where to turn. That's why we got you covered. The Call Your Law Firm, that's your place to turn. They've been serving this community for over 10 years now and doing so successfully. They've helped out people just like you since their start. The Call Your Law Firm, they got your back. They don't have your wallet. They start their attorney fees at 25%. That's how they back that up. A big firm is going to make you sign a contract that's going to put 40 or 45 or 50% of your recovery money back into their pockets. Call your law firm. That's not what they're about. They want you to get back on your feet as quickly as possible. Give them a call at 502-736-8141 or go online to callyourlawfirm.com. That's COLYER lawfirm.com. Hurt in an accident or hurt on the job, call your law firm. I saw the Riddlers tweeted you earlier, the kid from St. Mary's that's 7'3". The Riddler wants to know how you feel about his girth, though. Is he girthy enough for you?
I'm not. I mean, he's got some, but I'm not sure.
He doesn't pass the Roman Kelly girth meter. It's fine. It's the question we're going to ask all offseason. Is he girthy enough? I just saw the news that Will Wade is apparently going to hire former LSU head coach Johnny Jones and ex-Mississippi State head coach and Western Kentucky head coach Rick Stansberry. To be honest, he's assembling the arch villains. And these are all guys that were the most blatant cheaters when cheating was illegal back in the day. This man, who's the third member of that staff? Is it going to be Frank Haith? Is it going to be, Penny Hardaway joins as an assistant, leaves Memphis. Unbelievable what he's doing right now. Zero shame whatsoever. Doesn't care who knows it. So out in the open, so egregious, you almost have to respect it. We'll wait. Shaped like a bag of milk. Still doing his thing down there. By the way, what is it? NC State announced today that, they flirted with Josh Schertz over the weekend. Josh Schertz is going to get, how bad is it for NC State right now that St. Louis was able to make a bigger financial commitment to Josh Schertz than a proud ACC program with multiple national championships in its existence? That's a tough look. But
That's why Will Wade's out of there.
Yeah, I guess. They hired who I told you on Friday I thought they were going to hire, which is Justin Gainey, the assistant coach at Tennessee, who's been rumored as kind of one of the guys for a long time to be an up-and-coming head coach. He played at NC State back in the late 90s, been a high major assistant for about a decade now. No idea how he's going to do there, but not exactly the big, splashy, earth-shattering hire that NC State was hoping for. But we do now know that, they may have made a worse hire than Boston College. Boston College probably made the splashier hire with Luke Murray, and NC State's out here. Like, maybe Gainey's going to be great for them, but
don't do that to Gainey.
I don't. He's not a name that moves the needle though for the average college basketball fan. I don't know how good he's going to be there. Nobody does. It's just they're in a little bit of a rough spot right now. The Carolina news obviously is going to be very interesting to follow. If it's not Tommy Lloyd, I guess they're still holding out hope that maybe it's going to be Dusty May. It sounds more like Lloyd. If it's not, then I don't know where they go. So, as the coaching carousel continues in college basketball. Roman, I was going to ask you, the Lakers game that you went to last week.
Yes.
Did we get a chance to talk about how you did in front of your boss with his dad?
We did.
Did we? Okay. Because I knew you talked to me about it. I can't remember if we did it on air. But it sounded like the dad was kind of more like you than Troy was, which was good.
Yeah, they were both hyped from the very beginning. Braun got a very early dunk, and that kind of showed how they were going to respond throughout big moments in the game, and I knew I could do what I wanted. I didn't, kept the vulgarness away, but I got loud when I needed to.
It's getting time to be NBA playoff time. How are we feeling? Can we get a 30-second Lakers update and how you're feeling about them as we get closer to the playoffs?
Yeah, the Lakers are in a weird spot we can't really defend, but when you have a player like Luka who's playing at an extremely, extremely high level, if you can get some team defense, you can maybe get into the second round and do something special with him. We know that he's capable of leading a team to a finals. I just don't know if he's got enough pieces around him to go and get out of the second round if he does get there. I don't believe he does. And with the way that the Spurs and OKC's playing, they're in a tier of their own right now. So don't think it really matters that much. But we are exceeding expectations. We're playing better than I kind of thought we would be at this point in the season. And I'm excited to see what Luka does game in and game out, which is, more than a lot of other NBA teams can say.
Why do I keep seeing rumors about Bronny's mom?
I don't know.
I just keep seeing stuff about,
Savannah?
Yeah. Or, LeBron's mom.
Oh.
I know there was the old rumor back in the day, but apparently there's a new one.
I saw, a viral tweet about his dad.
I saw that one, too. Where it's someone's just walking around with legendary.
mythical.
Mythical.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I did see that too, which was crazy. Do you think? Are you buying? Last question for you and your Lakers fandom. Are you buying the LeBron could be a Warrior next season smoke?
No,
you don't think so.
No, but I feel like he's not a Laker either.
Okay,
which really only points to Cleveland.
Okay. A couple of YouTube comments now. People say, I'm fairly certain that the baseball team will miss the tournament this year. A lot of season left, but not promising at the moment. They're not looking like they're going to be an NCAA tournament team, which would be all the conversations that we kind of shelved about Dan McDonnell and Roger Williams and after they made the College World Series last year. They come back to the forefront if this continues to happen. They've been embarrassing themselves in the midweek games, which is one thing. If you can make up for it during the weekend when you play in the conference. But they are now 67th in the RPI, 15-6 overall in home games. They are 2-5 in all other games, 17-11 overall in the season, and a 500 record in the ACC. To put this in perspective, they are sandwiched in the RPI range, which is what the selection committee uses for college baseball. They still use the RPI. They are sandwiched in between Tarleton State from the WAC and High Point from the Big South. Not exactly the company that you want to be keeping about a month and a half into the season. We may need to get Sean Moth on the show this week and kind of just break down. Because Sean always tells it like it is. And then he and I can just talk about the Avalanche for 10 minutes. But the baseball team's got to get it going. We can't have I don't want to, with the men's and women's basketball teams out now, I don't want to just close the book on Cardinal athletics for the season. We need to have something to keep us going through the month of May and into June. And the only sport that can make that happen is baseball. Softball maybe could get it going, but let's go. Let's pick it up, boys. All right, Gameday Mens Health text line. 502-414-1450 is the text line there. Texter says, if Jeff said he will not come on the show again until you have Brian on, would Jeff ever be on the show again? I will never have Brian on the show. Any other Brom can come on. His two kids can come on. His wife Ashley can come on. His Uncle Dennis can come on. His Aunt Dana, she can come on. Cousin Mark on the show. Uncle Donnie, bring him on. Greg obviously has been on the show. Jeff's been on the show. I will have every Brom besides Brian on the show. I would sacrifice a Jeff interview to make sure that I keep Brian off the show. Absolutely. He actually did come on the old Ramsey and Rutherford show, but that was Ramsey and Rutherford. Mike Rutherford show, we don't have. It's a Brian-free zone. Texas, after the entire backstory, it would have been a complete kick in the you-know-whats if he had committed to Kentucky. Are you telling me the big dog is finally putting in some work? Do we know what he does here now? Big dog's been putting in some work. I think he's answered those questions. If you look at, our class of 2027 right now in football, I know that it's a long way off. I know that things can happen. It's stacking up to be a very, very good class. With Jihad committing today, you've got 9 commits from the 2027 class, and 5 of them are 4-star players. It is, according to On3, which I think has Louisville, has the recruits ranked lower than 24/7 Sports, it's still the number 15 class in America, according to their rankings. Allen Evans from Trinity is a top 100 player in the overall class. D'Angelo White, the kid from Cleveland, is a high 4-star prospect. He's viewed as the number 8 overall athlete in the class. Chuck Alexander Jr. from Cincinnati, wide receiver, big-time prospect there, number 49 overall wide receiver in the class. Jordan Haskins, we mentioned, legacy from Bryan Station. His dad played here at safety, 4-star prospect. Jihad, 4-star prospect. Sebastian Blue is a guy that, he showed out at a camp over the weekend, won MVP of the entire camp. Would not be shocked to see him rise in the rankings as we get closer and closer to the start of his senior season. So they have done very well in the state of Ohio and the state of Kentucky so far in this 27 class. Shaping up to be pretty good. Texture says they knew Jihad was coming here from Tom Loy on 24/7. Quote from Jihad. Okay, this makes more sense. He said, so I committed to Louisville this past Thursday, and I called Coach Brown. When I called, he happened to be in a staff meeting with the entire staff and all the coaches. He said he was putting me on speakerphone, so I told the coaches and staff that I'm staying home and I'm ready to become a Cardinal. So I guess the big dog played that off then. I mean, usually the big dog, if he knows, he's barking a little bit before the commitment. This morning he was like, wherever he goes, that kid's a 4-star, not a 3-star, because I guess one of the scouting services has him as a 3. Maybe that was his way of hinting that he knew, but they kept it very quiet. I had no idea. Hand up. Props to Tom Loy for the report. Texas says, Wyatt Danielewicz is the only guy exempt from my outrage. Fix it, Dan. Oh, continues on. CFB here. Suck it, Mike. I mean, Reds are 2-1. Since we're in baseball mode now, the Louisville baseball team's pitching staff needs to be addressed. It may be the worst it's been since COVID, and that's saying something considering they've been pretty terrible year after year after year. If the Cards had a middle-of-the-road ACC staff, they'd be a top 15 team. That's how bad they've been. We have a serious Golden Spikes candidate, and we may not make the tournament. Think about how terrible that is. Enough is enough, Dan. Roger has to go. If we don't make the tournament and like Tag Davis is a finalist for Golden Spikes and we're a top 10 offensive team in the sport, I think at that point you got to say like, yeah, Roger, enough's enough, man. Like you had one good year in the middle of a bunch of bad years, and now it's as bad as it's ever been, and it costs us a chance to have a really special season. We got to do something different. I don't know how much of this is his fault or how much of it is us misevaluating players that we're bringing in to help the pitching staff.
Which is on him.
But, I mean, also, like, we had guys that last year were good. Ethan Eberle's been, like, not great when he's pitched. We had Peter Michael. We've had guys that were good for us last season that appear to have gotten dramatically worse. That's absolutely on the coaching staff and the pitching coach in particular. So, again, still early in the season, I guess, but it's getting later than you think. We got to get that figured out. By the way, the Reds took 2 out of 3 from the Red Sox. I let Dylan hear about it yesterday. He wasn't too happy about it. He was like, oh, glad your team played so well. Great job by you. I'm like, are you really just like trying to brag about the fact that you're actually on the team and I'm not? I'm aware of what my status is, Dylan. I'm sorry that my favorite team beat your team 2 out of 3. Suck it. Get along. I'll cheer for you against everybody else. I can't cheer for you after that. Gino Suarez. Oh, felt good yesterday. We're going to the World Series, Rob. Got the Pirates now. Excited for some bad blood brewing between these two. Let's go. Texter says, fake first-time texter guy here. The Kings game was great. My group had a ton of fun. My only request was we need more oh, hell yeah chants. Also, Benny has no juice. The second series running back definitely looked the best. What's the oh, hell yeah chants?
That's the one I taught him.
Oh, hell yeah. That's all it does?
Yeah, I do the O part. The crowd does the hell yeah.
Okay.
We got to do it once.
The people are clamoring for more. Give them what they want, Roman.
I'll tell them they let me.
Now you've got the mic. They can't. They don't.
Well, I'm gonna say. Look, they're gonna say if they're asking me for critiques in the script. I'm gonna let them know that we need more chants.
The people want more. Oh hell yeah! Give it to them. Texter says, "Here's your canine update. He was chasing tail at O'Shea's again this weekend." The kid live. He's like 21 years old. But is this the guy that always texts in about seeing Kanai at O'Shea's?
Yes.
So I've seen people on Twitter will tag me too and say that Kanai must just live at O'Shea's. You've seen him there.
Yeah.
I don't blame him.
Him and Frank were there often.
He's young.
Before the season started. I haven't been much since the season started, though.
I do. I mean, that is you kind of forget. Like when I first started getting into sports blogging, I would keep it off the blog, but like, yeah, I'm at that age where I'm either hearing about what players are doing or I'm seeing it firsthand. And it's a different world when you have those stories that are out there. Not clearly, at being 41 years old now, I'm not nearly as in tune with that, nor should I be. But I'm glad Kanai's having a good time. I once witnessed a player trying to have sex at the outdoor bar at O'Shea's. It was like a very crowded night too. I was like, dude, you can't pull the pants down right there, man. We're all waiting in line to try to get a drink. I will not name names. It was not a very good player.
That's insane.
It was like, and then you looked him in the eyes, and like you could tell, like, it was one of those where like he just was not there at all. They kicked him out, and the girl. Not sure if he was going to be able to perform back home because he was on a different planet. Texas says, Mike, were Carr and Kloman pushed out, or did they surprise PK by leaving? Losing a GM during portal season seems bad. They were not surprised. It was, I feel, I mean, maybe I could have been lied to, but when you get told weeks ago that, like, hey, these two guys, they're going to be told they need to find new jobs, and then it's the exact same people that you were told, and they go out there and they get new jobs, that says to me, that's typically how firings go, if you want to call them that, at this level. Like, the situation that we had with Gaudio and Luke Murray was so atypical, and that's why I think it got out of control. Because you don't, especially, like, you're almost always friends with the staff members. A lot of times you've coached with them for years. You can see you're pretty close with them. And there are rare, like, you know, Patino brought in some guys that he didn't have great, like, lengthy relationships with. Didn't go great for us when he did that. But more times than not, you've got a history with these people. And so you kind of go to them and you say, hey, maybe start looking for another gig. And more times than not, you know, if you're a coach at Louisville and you've been on successful staffs, you're going to be able to find another job. And Kloman gets a job at Auburn. That's a good gig, at least until Stephen Pearl gets axed. And Carr gets a job at Indiana. That's a good gig. I think there's one more coach, again, not a full-time assistant, but a lower-level staffer that's going to probably, I think he's trying to find another gig at the moment. And that's the way that those things work. So I feel pretty confident. I mean, I can tell you beyond the shadow of a doubt, PK was not surprised by the leaving. Texter says, total POS move from the Ellis camp. Let someone else overpay for him if that's the truth.
I agree. I mean, it's not. I want to agree that it's a POS move, but that's the norm these days.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's the game. It just, I don't know, man. If you're asking a coach to travel abroad because you have struck a deal verbally, I do feel like kind of surprising him with it. And this was not a small increase, apparently. It was a dramatic increase. I do kind of feel like that's a little bit shady. Not so shady that they were willing to step away completely front court. In fact, I would go so far as to say that the staff shakeup is based primarily on their shortcomings in the front court over the past 2 years. So I don't think that they're going to – the strategy thing I'm just as interested in as everybody else. Because, I mean, Roman, you look around the country, bully ball has kind of taken over college basketball. The teams that are having the most success right now primarily are the ones that have been the biggest, the most physical, and the most successful around the rim on both ends.
Get you a big who can bully, get you a wing who can ball handle and bully, get a shooter, and get a point guard.
Yeah, I mean, Arizona quite literally takes fewer threes than all but two teams in college basketball, and you could easily make the case that they've been the best team in the country all season long. Michigan's not that far behind. They are a little bit more perimeter-oriented, but they don't like live and die with a three. They live and die with crushing it at the rim. Second best two-point offense in the country, third best two-point defense in the country. They've got, you know, they went out there and they got a Damara. They got Morez Johnson to transfer from Illinois. Yaxel's a jack of all trades. They, like, the best teams in college basketball are playing this style. I'm not saying you have to commit fully to trying to mimic what Michigan and Arizona and some other teams are doing, but I feel like you at least have to take a step in that direction, right?
Yes. You have to have an aspect of what they do to your game or you're not going to be able to compete.
Now, I mean, Illinois shoots the 15th most threes in college basketball, and they're in the Final Four.
But they've got that aspect. They've got that big guy down low who can bang.
And the dudes that are shooting threes are like 7'1", 7'2", 6'9".
Yeah.
You know? Like, they've got the Ivasic guys. They've got Peja's kid, who's 6'7". They've got Merkovich, who's 6'9", 250. It's even Keaton Wagler is, you know, he's 6'6". They're a big team that shoots a lot of threes, which means they can still rebound and defend the rim as well as anybody else. Like they play to their style. So I mean, you can have it both ways. You just can't be completely deficient around the rim, which is more or less what we've been the last couple of. We haven't been completely deficient, but we've not been nearly as good around the rim as the best teams in the sport have been. I mean, UConn, Terrace Reed, beast. He's out there getting you a double-double every single game. We haven't had a player like that under Kelsey, and I think they're out there looking for one. Texture says, my 2 cents on the Louisville Kings game is this. I was confused with people on the screen with Louisville Kings shirts on doing L's up, and a lot of people with Kings shirts on doing L's down. It was still house divided. 1, the cold wind won the game. 2, Roman did great. 3, the Kings football can't catch, fumble, and the defense was ran by Ron English. 4, I saw more beer cans than fans. So you know it's a good game. I did see the tight end had a rough time that dropped the 2 big passes.
2 drops, yeah.
The first one was the interception where, like, if he just dropped it normally the first 4 times he tipped it, it would have been okay. Mm-hmm. But it was like hands,
that
helmet,
like smacking onto the
hands
ground.
Again, foot up in the air, right to the other guy. I was like, oh, that's not good.
Appreciate that though.
Was it really cold? The wind was bad Friday night.
It is like as soon as the second half hit, it got super cold and windier. It felt like
your attire looked good. I like the outfit you had on.
Thank you.
That's very nice. Texture says, Mike, any word on John Blackwell from Wisconsin? Nothing outside of we're interested, for sure. Look, everybody's going to be interested in John Blackwell. It's a 20-point-per-game scorer for a good Wisconsin team. You want to talk about making a program hate you. If like, this kid, he's played all 3 years at Wisconsin. They brought him around slowly, didn't play that much as a freshman, started as a sophomore, was very good, started last year as a junior, was even better, all-conference player, all-American aspirations for a senior year. If we come in and take him the same way we took Chucky Hepburn, I can't imagine Wisconsin basketball fans hating anybody more than us besides maybe Duke. But, got to do what you got to do. I would take John Blackwell would absolutely be one of those players that I think you would pay multiple 7 figures for.
I would like Blackwell, but for some reason I can see him in the Alabama jersey already.
He's a beast. He's very good. Shoots the 3 at a high level. Fantastic player. Clutch gene, off the charts. I would very much like to have John Blackwell, but he would be pricey. Texas, Caden Boozer's errant pass reminded me a lot of UVA's Kie Clark against Furman 3 years ago. I saw someone put them side by side, like sync them up together. Very similar. The only difference was with Kie Clark, he knows he's got to beat a 10-second violation. With Caden Boozer, you can go backwards. There's 10 seconds in the game, exactly 10 seconds in the game. The clock can run out without giving the ball. All you got to do is nothing. Just turning it over is the one thing you can't do. And he just jumped and threw it right into 2 taller guys than he is.
After taking a dribble.
Texas, the juice might not be worth the squeeze if that's the number with Ellis. I think that's the big thing, is if he's going to be your highest paid player for next season, you'd like him to be more of a known commodity. The accolades in the Italian league speak for themselves. The highlights look great.
Crew just hit the portal.
Is it official?
So Matt Childress just texted me.
Okay, there we go.
Probably shouldn't throw his name out there like that. Could have said I got a text.
Matt does lie a lot too, so Twitter just does not work anymore. The search function is just completely useless. There it is. Via Jonathan Gavoni, Sanandafru will enter the transfer portal. His agent Milan Nikolic tells Draft Express the 6'11" German was the ACC's most efficient scorer. I mean, come on. Ranking among the conference's top offensive rebounders and shot blockers. He's the number 2 player in the portal per DXV. Okay. I mean, I don't want to crap on Sananda. He's not the second best player in the portal. Absolutely not.
Was he one of the conference's top shot blockers?
No. I mean, if you're saying like top 20, then yeah. I mean, I guess technically. So okay, ACC top shot blockers. I'm looking it up now because I've got to see just how far we stretch the semantics with this. Why is it so hard to find any stats? block shots. No, player stat. Okay, I'm done with this. I'm done trying to find out. He averaged what, like 1.2 shot blocks per game?
If that, yeah.
I think that's what it was. But I don't know where he was. I feel pretty confident he was not top 5. Anyways, best of luck to Sanana moving forward. Would have loved for him to stay on a discount, but it sounds like that agent wanted to get paid. I get it. Whatever. He'll get a good offer from somewhere. Guarantee it. Let's take a break. When we come back, last segment of the day, we'll run through the text line. We'll make some predictions for the night in sports, and then we'll hand things off to another Louisville Kings legend, Dalton Pence, the PA man, who's here for the next 90 minutes after we get off the air. Keep it locked right here. Rutherford Show, 1450 The Big X.
I called too many times. Give me one reason to stay here, and I'll turn right back around.
This is a huge Glenn Rutherford song. My dad, big fan of this song. My mom hated this song. I think just because mom liked it so, or dad liked it so much. By the way, shout out to my guy Timmy Smith. he came with the stats. Sananda Frew, this shocked me. Number 6 in the ACC in block shots this season. 1.4 per game. I don't think any of us would have guessed that. It didn't feel like he had that much of a rim protection impact, but I guess he did.
Yeah, I would have guessed like 12th.
I would have guessed like 12th, too. 1.4 block shots per game. Just felt like he got, our 2-point percentage defense was not, right at the rim, just was not consistently good. It felt like we gave up a lot of points there this season. In fact, we were, 62nd in 2-point percentage defense. Not great. Not terrible. Could be better. Gameday Mens Health text line 502-414-1450. We got 25 minutes left here on today's show. But again, Monday is the best day of the week for Louisville sports fans because we got Dalton Pence in here from 5:30 to 7. I'm sure you guys will talk a little Louisville Kings. He's the PA man. Roman's the in-game MC. And then I'm sure a lot of Louisville talk as well, as there's much to discuss in the wake of the women's team's season ending, football recruiting ratcheting up, spring practice rolling on, men's basketball, roster construction, coaching staff construction at a fever pitch, and we've got a Final Four on the men's side. So lots going on at this time of the year. I don't know about you. I'm longing for the days to when that second weekend of the tournament we're back to being involved. Because, especially now, you see the highlight videos that come out. You see the reaction videos that come out. Like hype videos and stuff like that. It's never been better than it is right now. And I feel like we haven't been able to capitalize on this new age because we haven't been remotely good enough over the past decade to really tap into that market. But you see, like I saw some of the stuff that came out after Iowa knocked off Florida. The videos were incredible. The reactions across the board from the UConn fans last night, some of the stuff that they were able to put together was remarkable. And just seeing those crazy atmospheres, seeing how great this tournament is every single year, we had that experience of tasting victory for the first time in 9 years. I am desperate to get back to that second weekend where those Sweet 16 and Elite 8 games, every single dribble matters so much. The whole world's watching. It's been too long.
It would feel nice to get back there.
It's time. I think it's a big part of the reason why everybody's so anxious to see what the roster looks like next year, because if we piece together a bunch of kind of okay players, maybe he can overachieve, then that's one thing. But if you're able to put together what feels like a really exciting roster that we can talk ourselves into being an Elite 8, Final Four, national title winning team, it helps carry you through the summer, helps carry you to football season. These are 3 very important weeks. There's no question about that. Let's get it done. 502-414-1450. We have a lot of text still to get to. We'll get to as many as we can over the next 20 minutes or so. Texter says, bring Josh Jamison home. No. What if getting Jackson Shelstead, part of the deal was we got to hire Josh Jamison? What if that's the assistant that I was talking about when it comes down to there may be a package deal at play?
I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't do it, first of all. I mean, maybe I could give him we can make up a fake job, like assistant to the assistant head coach, and just let him hang out in the city for a year. But I would absolutely not let him do any sort of real coaching. Right?
Doesn't have anything to bring, I don't think.
Texas says, I love PK, but if you put out the wink, you got to be sure it's a done deal. Not 98%, 99%, but 100% done deal, especially after the London Johnson activated social media post and declaration that we are PGU. Well, we are PGU. If not 100%, then don't send the wink at all. We'll be pretty disappointed if it doesn't work out and we got to go elsewhere.
It's in the same ballpark as putting a player as your profile picture who's not going to be playing.
I kind of agree with this. If you're going to do the premature, if you're going to do the wink, it can't be premature. You got to have, it's got to be pen to paper. It's got to be a done deal. You got to be ready to go. We can't have any premature winking happening right now. Trevor's stepdad says, when you ate way too much of the brownie and now you got to play it cool. The John Shire geeked face is just, it's good. Any drug tweet you want to make, any drug joke you want to make about the Shire face, it's going to play. It's going to hit. I'm going to laugh. It's going to be great. Or any sort of
too drunk tweet or anything like that.
Pants crapping, you trusted a fart too much. That's the face you make every single time. It's the goofiest face I've ever seen. The worst part is, too, everybody behind him is just terrified. Like they know that their world's about to come crashing down. Shire does too, and that's the face he chose to make, where it's the like I'm trying to laugh through the pain, or at least half smile through the pain. It's a terrible look. It's not going away anytime soon. Texas Mike, super nice of you to let the big dog take credit for the Jihad Brown commitment. We all know who really pulls the strings around the city. Don't worry. Thank you. Also hope the Kings debut went well for you, Big Rome. Based on all the pictures floating around, you looked cool as hell on the jumbo.
Thank you. Did go well.
And I will take credit for Jihad Brown's commitment. If the recruiting guys listening at the stadium, they know. They know what I'm talking about. Texas, am I wrong in saying that these college agents are amateur hour, modern-day ambulance chasers? Whenever I hear about college agents, I don't see the types of big names with the sports world like Scott Boras or the Creative Artists Agency. It seems most of these dudes are unknowns before the NIL era and are being opportunists, knowing that they have to milk their clients and universities because once they go pro, they'll be dropping these idiots as soon as possible for someone more professional. I mean, I do think you've got – it's a weird world out there where you've got some bona fide professional agents that are handling some big clients and that are going out there and doing things very much by the book, the same way they would do at the pro level. But and you should expect – we're talking about a sport that has 365 teams, and every team has 13 to 15 players. A lot of these guys have agents. So when you get down there in the weeds, yeah, you've got some players that their agent is like the dude.
Roman's buddy.
Yeah, the dude from Econ 101 who was like, hey, man, you need an agent? I can probably do that for you. Like, you've got some of those guys that are out there operating. And the fact, can you imagine, like, Bill Self having to negotiate with 19-year-old Ted who just, like, happened to become friends with a really good basketball player from North Dakota State because they bumped into each other at a frat party and had a drunken conversation about how he knew how to handle finances. Like, that same guy somehow has negotiating power over Hall of Fame head coaches in the right circumstances. It's a crazy world out there. And you gotta handle it. But I think it is a pretty consistent complaint that you hear when you talk to people in college basketball circles, that you've got some people out there that just do not know what they're doing and very much think that that's not the case. And they're kind of hard to work with because of that. Texas, with the rumors stirring up about the Boozers flipping their commitment last season when Jay Lucas went to Miami, do you think there's a real chance Caden goes to Miami next year when his brother goes off to the NBA? I feel like he might need to get away from this mistake. I mean, I'm not saying that I've heard anything. It seems like a plausible scenario where he not just wants to get away from his mistake, but it's Duke. They're going to recruit other guards. They're going to have the opportunity to bring in a portal player at the same position who maybe is better than Caden Boozer. If he wants to go somewhere and be prioritized more, maybe out of the spotlight a little bit more, Miami would probably fit that. I can see that happening.
I think it'd be smart for him.
I would too. I mean, I guess that there's a redemption arc potentially, and you're also still playing at your dad's alma mater and
but
your
every
legacy.
Single little turnover and mistake you make going into next season as a Duke, Blue Devil is going to get highlighted and put under a microscope, even way more than it would literally anywhere else. So
I know that we were picking apart the way that the UK fan base was. Some of the things they were saying about, was it Jasper Johnson, all that stuff that was out there, Malachi Moreno. Duke fans were brutal to Caden Boozer on social media, as you would expect. I mean, that's just kind of the way it goes now when there's a big situation like that in a moment. Maybe he didn't want to deal with that, because you're right. If we get to next March and they're a good team again, and you assume that they will be, anytime he's got the ball in a late game situation, everybody's going to be thinking that. And he's probably going to be thinking it too. If you want to get away from that, the best way is to probably remove yourself from the situation. But maybe he doesn't have that mentality. Or maybe he gives it a go for 1 year and then chooses to go somewhere else for like his last two. Because he doesn't strike me as like he could be a 4-year college player, I feel like. I don't think that's a guy who's probably going to be good enough to go pro after his sophomore or junior year. Do you? No. He doesn't strike me as a bona fide NBA prospect. Texas says, do you think
like a stronger version of like a Quentin Snyder?
I can see that.
I think this is literally the perfect level for him. Go get better at shooting, get even bigger into your grown man body, and I think you can kind of command your matchup at this level.
Texas says, do you think Carlos reapplied the printer ink he calls dye after Caden's pass made him gray? It's a good text. Did you see it? I mean, the old Carlos Boozer, the painted on hairline, was just one of the all-time worst. Texas, you're wrong, Mike. Kelsey's wink was alluding to C.B. Buckner calling strikes with one eye closed for the Reds. I did see the stat that, like, opening weekend in baseball, they tracked all the missed balls and strikes calls from umpires. And second place was 19. C.B. Buckner was number 1 with 26.
He missed 26 strikes?
Yeah, and he got called out. You know, you can now challenge the calls. There was a situation. Reds had bases loaded on Saturday. And Gino Suarez is at the plate. It's a 1-2 count. Called third strike. 2 outs, the bases loaded. So it ends the inning. He taps his helmet, says, let's challenge it. Turns out it's a ball. At bat continues. Very next pitch, called strike 3. Taps the helmet again. Pitch was very clearly low. Called a ball. At bat continues. It was the loudest the Reds crowd got all weekend. And then he ended up grounding out. But still, it was a very fun moment. And it was very embarrassing for C.B. Buckner. It's going to be a thing all season long.
It is. That's cool.
Ohio guy says, you said it's excessive for Tyron Stokes doing commercials. Is excessive. If John in Virginia were offered money to do a commercial, would you turn it down? Oh, of course not. Also, if NIL was legal when you were in high school, you wouldn't do it. Of course I would. I'm not blaming the kid. I'm saying it feels very strange that we're featuring high school kids in commercials like that to begin with. I mean, I think it's a weird move by the brand. If I'm Tyron Stokes, hell no. I mean, if my kids were featured in some sort of video and we got paid for it, yep. If I was a high school athlete, 100% I'd be doing it. I just think it's more interesting that Dick's Sporting Goods, I think is the brand, going for a kid who's active in high school basketball, right? I mean, what if he just sucks?
Like, it's Dick's. You could go get anybody that's already a pro.
You can get anybody at Dick's. Just those Dick's can they can bring anybody in they want. It's a great store. Riddler says, well done hitting every clue perfectly, Mike, on the Trez riddle. Also, can we talk about what's wrong with the baseball team? Roger has to go. I like the even when the Riddler is like semi-positive about something, even if it's like a quick, like I'm not going to go in depth about this, but we got to hit on a negative. Roger has to go. Texture says, does it bother you guys that a large portion of the city is already protesting against our UFL team? I mean, damn, Louisville, it's only one loss. Yeah, the no Kings jokes were out there in full effect this week. Texture says, Chris Plummer says, the NBA is such a joke. First Bronny James getting drafted, now Bryce James too. Is Bryce James going to get drafted?
Oh, you redshirted.
Yeah.
I don't know where you got that, Chris.
Roman, how the hell do you watch the NBA? I used to watch it, but it's gotten unwatchable the last 5 to 10 years. Neither Russ nor Peyton got a shot, but LeBron's kids get to go just because of who their dad is. SMH.
I saw an interesting point over the weekend digging through a thread from the Damian Lillard picture he posted where did you see that? He did a shooting practice drill type of situation where he hit 1,000 threes out of 1,090 attempts.
No.
Yeah, and he had 1,000 3-pointers out of,
good God,
just under 1,100 attempted. And he had 2 perfect shots on there, which I don't know what that means. But I saw this discussion of this argument that was happening in there, and it's like people don't realize that there's players capable of that in the NBA, and they're getting held to 37, 36% for their careers.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think that is, if not defense?
Yeah.
I think people really do underestimate just how good some of these players are, and in return they say, well, there's no defense. These guys don't look at the points. Look at the points that they're averaging. If there was no defense, it'd be worse. Wembanyama went into a good point about it as well, just like with the scouting and the level of detail that the defenses do pay attention to. Players are just getting that good. But Bryce James is not an NBA player. He won't be an NBA player.
I thought he was supposed to be better than Bronny.
He's supposed to be taller and
they
more
were
athletic.
saying that at some point.
By 9th grade or whatever it is, Bryce was already this height. Bronny was only this height. He could already jump like this. He's dunking at a younger age. All these kind of things that don't make you better at basketball.
Yeah. Now, he's redshirting at Arizona, right?
Yeah.
So
you see the memes? It's like he joins legendary company as one of the few freshmen to make it to the Final Four.
I mean, Maybe
And
it'll
the
be a
picture
play.
has like him, D Rose, Anthony Davis on it. It's silly.
So someone literally just sent me this where it's a picture of him. It's clearly AI on the floor as like the bench is celebrating. It just said, Michael Jordan's son is doing coke in the French Riviera. Meanwhile, LeBron James' sperm just led Arizona to the Final Four. Hasn't played a game. Let him in the handshake line. That's fine. Texter says, Lazard guy says, no way PK is top 25 in coaching. His best career win is a road game at Miami against a first-time head coach. I was crying for more Zoo all year. 14 minutes against Sparty when he's the only productive big in that game was criminal, but his camp wanting a bag is hilarious. Not saying Ellis won't be good, but he's a 22-year-old 6'6" point guard that hasn't sniffed the NBA. That's strange. Plus, his camp is already being difficult. Pass, go get a cheaper option.
That's great point, Lazard guy. I thought about this when we first got brought it up. When you said, because you said 23. I thought
he'll be 23 when the season happens.
He should be in the NBA already if he's Italian and he's that good.
I think he declared twice. He declared for the 23 draft, went through the process, and then
the kid can't shoot. Then that's what this means.
He's not great at shooting. My reservation will be the last part of that text. If you feel like you were frustrated because maybe the circle around the big guy that you invested in last year was a little bit difficult to work with, if this is already happening now, you run the risk of a repeat next season where, let's say Quinn Ellis turns an ankle and then he doesn't play for a couple games. You already know exactly where the fan base is going to go. And it's like you can't be mad at them for immediately thinking, like, here we go again. And who's to say that it won't be legitimate, that his guy, like, especially if he's playing really well for you and he's starting to get NBA draft pub. Maybe their camp steps up and says, like, we're not going to play against Towson State in this game. Who knows? If they're already doing this kind of thing, I'm just saying. Texas, will you tell Jeff tomorrow that Brian isn't allowed on the show? Jeff knows. Jeff absolutely knows. Texas, why do we hate Brian again? It's not a we thing. It's a personal rivalry. I grew up. I won a head-to-head quarterback battle with him when I was in 8th grade and he was in 7th. He's hated me ever since. We played baseball together growing up, played together at Trinity. It's a lifelong rivalry. I in all seriousness, because people get confused when we do this. I love Brian. It's just been since I started writing, I've been like making fun of him on the internet, but Brian's the best dude in the world. Love him. Hey, Mike, first-time listener, long-time texter. Abstract question. Would reducing the NIL budget for the Hoops team actually help the team be more successful? Obviously, there appears to be a threshold of approximately $8 to $9 million required to make Final Fours, but is it crazy to think that spending less could also raise the program floor, assuming we're currently around 10 to 12 mil? Rather than trying to get the most talented star players, it forces a staff to go after less talent, more hungry guys who are more likely to buy into a system and culture while also showing a greater willingness to fight and die for a win. I mean,
no, because you need you need that anyway. That should be your priority with every player you're going after anyway.
If we're chasing being Nebraska from this season or Iowa, then maybe. If we're chasing winning a national title, look at the 4 teams that are still standing right now. Those guys have very expensive rosters. They paid a lot of money to get some of the biggest recruits in the class of 2025 and some of the biggest transfer portal players from the offseason of 2025. They invested heavily, and now they're reaping the benefits. If we're serious about trying to win national titles again, and I think that's the standard here, I don't know if you can win a national title in this day and age by not being one of the at least 15 biggest spenders in college basketball. Maybe you can get lucky. Maybe you have a player that feels like they don't need an extra $2 million and they're willing to sacrifice for the betterment of the team. That's not going to be the norm. I think you've got to be in that 10 to 12 mil range to have a chance. I understand what you're saying, and it's not a point that I'm just glossing over. I think you run the risk of having disaster if you just go out there and spend heavily on the best players without thinking about fit and system and culture and all that stuff. But you've got to find a way to maintain culture and fit while also going out there and getting some players that are among the best in college basketball.
I don't think you can even think about sniffing an Elite Eight unless you've got 2 or 3 of those willing to fight and die on the floor for you kind of players anyway.
Texture says, get a hand up. You brought this to my attention last night. So the picture's been going around. Isaiah Evans is the man who is right in front of Braylon Mullins on the last second shot, and he just is standing there with his hands down. And his Instagram handle is literally get a hand up. That's an all-time just terrible look. I would have changed it right when I got out of the arena. I would have immediately just been like.
And the fact that it's not changed, that if I'm Braylon Mullins, I know exactly what my first Instagram caption is today.
I mean, if I'm Isaiah, like I know people would notice, but I'm still going like Slim Evans 24/7 or something. I'm just like, whatever, making this not be a thing. Texter says, Eddie in San Diego here. What's up, Eddie? First time texter.
Shout out to Eddie.
I've been waiting a couple of decades for U of L to get a high-profile athlete named Steve Holt so we could shout his name after a touchdown. Well, now we have a Keen Holt. Keen Holt! We also had an assistant coach named Stu Holt, and I very much did the Stu Holt thing. Shout out to Arrested Development. Great running gag. Texas K9 and Spencer Legg run a diabolical two-man. Is it? I believe this is a social text and not not an actual basketball
affiliated text.
Texture says, when PK asked to shake up his staff because the last time our basketball coach shook up the staff, was PK asked? No. I think it led to the start of the demise of the program. No, this was not a Josh Hurd goes to Pat Kelsey and says, second-round losses aren't good enough. You got to change things. This was very much a Pat Kelsey making the move himself. Texas Fru's about to get an assistant fired. Maybe. Texas, please get some true small forwards in the portal. I'm so done with the three-guard lineups. I mean, I would prefer, like, if we're going to go people playing out of position, give me a center, power forward, guard lineup. That seems, I mean, look at Michigan. You got two standard guards, and then you go Lindenberg, jack of all trades, 6'7" dude, Morris Johnson, 6'10" beast, Ademara, 7-footer. Give me that. Texas, would you consider Christian Dawkins an amateur hour agent? I mean,
no. Just off of his connections. Maybe the decision-making or the thought process.
I mean, I watched this documentary. The guy's not, like he just scammed his way into this. There's nothing about his background that says he should be in this position. He shouldn't have been in that position 3 or whatever that was, 8 years ago.
Like,
turned into a disaster.
Really, here's your Gatorade type of manager his way into this kind of a spot.
Yes.
Like, was that stereotypical high school not good enough at basketball kind of a manager? And then somehow a couple years later owned the team.
Some people they're good at scamming. There's Mike, your challenge, should you choose to accept it. Try to get Jeff off his vague coach speak for one question when you interview him. That's the goal. We're gonna try tomorrow at 3. Ohio guy says Chris the Plumber is lying. He watches the Orlando Magic because of Jonathan Isaac and the Minnesota Timberwolves because of Rudy Gobert. Texas, nothing makes me think someone's a casual basketball fan more than if they say the NBA doesn't play defense. If you don't like the product, that's fine, but it's not because of the defense. I agree. Texas, a butt meat sandwich sounds tasty. Where's that coming from? Chris Plummer says, I read that he's sitting out at Arizona to get ready for the draft. Was that satire?
That was satire.
Yes, he's redshirting because he's not. He's not good enough to play just yet. Texas, do you think Michael would have tried to play if the NBA had the same drafting mentality as the NFL? Yes.
Wouldn't have had a choice.
Texas, Mike, you saying U of L wanted Fru and Zoo back with the new deal doesn't give me much confidence on who they will bring in, mid-major circus. I'm not saying, and I think you're misunderstanding, U of L did not, they were ready for, like, Sananda, you need to go somewhere else. They were, basically, Fru came to them and said, I want to stay. And they were going to keep him as a backup if he was okay with taking a massive pay decrease. Obviously, that hasn't happened, and he's now back in he's in the portal. We don't have time to get to any of the other ones. Apology, I didn't realize we were going to be that loaded. We've got, do you want to talk about the college basketball crown tonight, Roman?
No, we can give out an MLB prop or two.
Give out an MLB prop. Brought to you by our boy Chad Hennessy over at InsureMax. Serving the Louisville community proudly for the last 20 years. Call Chad Hennessy at 502-479-4085. Give us a prop.
Burns on the mound going up against Ashcraft for the Pirates. Mike, I don't think this one's going over 8.5. I think it's going to be a low-scoring 2-1 kind of a win for the Reds here. Give me the under 8.5 runs.
I don't like that prediction. I'm just letting you know. I'm on the over right there. I hope you're right, though. Let's go. We're out of here. Dalton Pence for the next 90 minutes talking more U of L sports, so keep it locked right here on the Big X. We're back tomorrow at 2:30. Until then, go Cards.
Go Cards.
It's another year here in our River City, and what better time to show your support for our high school's athletic programs. Whether it's basketball or football, track and field or soccer,